Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to ReelTok episode 107. Today, we got a very fun, very packed episode going through Transformers, the Transformers special. We're talking Transformers 1, of course, but also going to be discussing and ranking the Transformers franchise in general. Beyond that, The Substance came out. Going to be reviewing that as well. Just a movie that's bound to get people talking. The Penguin episode 1 dropped. Agatha All Along, I believe the first 2 episodes dropped. So we'll talk a little bit about those. Not going to go too deep into them. We'll kind of wait till the end of the season for a full breakdown, but we'll still talk on them a bit. And then we got a Mickey 17 trailer. Finally, Squid Game season 2 and a bunch of Netflix news and other movie news as well. Should be a very fun episode, very diverse episode, talking all kinds of stuff today. But before we get into it, shout out to our executive producers, as always, Sean Morales, Josh Weimer, Stefan Johnson, and Stefan Niebrick. Couldn't be doing this podcast without you and all of our other patrons. If you want to check out our Patreon, go to the description down below. Join our Discord. It's a jolly old time over there. But with that being said, last week only had 2 of us. It was Cam and George. And then shout out to Sammy and Alex for being able to step in on short notice. And it was a great, fun episode. I was listening on the plane. I was just cracking up. But Seth, we both weren't here last week, so I'll start with you. How are you doing, and what have you been watching?
Yeah, I'm good. I had a pretty shit week, to be honest, just busy. Not watched I watched a decent amount, to be fair. It was my birthday on Tuesday, Monday, I can't remember now.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Going for a meal later, see my dad and stuff, which will be nice. Got a kitten, always good. I've been sending you guys photos. She's very, very cute. Who's
very cute cat.
Really like settled in like nicely, because you expect with like a kitten that they're just gonna like shitting everywhere and stuff like straight away.
I expected a little more with dogs, but yeah, it's still.
But even so, like she's like 9 weeks old. You know what I mean?
Right.
So she's been like really, really good so far, which has been great. She settled in really nicely. That's all good. But yeah, like just a really busy week. Had a few days off for like around my birthday, just chilled and stuff. I didn't even end up going to I was meant to go to like a Penguin event this week, but I'm really trying to save at the moment because I just spent like a bomb on fucking BFI London Film Fest tickets because that's crazy. And I'm like staying there for 6 nights in London, which is like always crazy expensive. So I'm going to try to save a bit more money. But I got like, just to mention, I got a bunch of stuff for London Film Festival I'm really, really excited for. I shout out Remy in our Discord. He actually got the tickets for me because he's really good at like doing shit. You know, like you have those people who just like, they just get things. Because when we went on the queue, right, in the members queue, there was more this year than there was last year in the general queue. In like the Ticketmaster whatever, and I ended up getting a Nora Queer, We Live in Time, Birds, the Jesse Eisenberg one, A Real Pain, Blitz, which is the new Steve McQueen one, which I'm really excited for. I think a trailer came out the other day. The Room Next Door, Night Bitch, The End, Nickel Boys, and Hard Truth. So I ended up getting like pretty much everything I wanted. Shame that we didn't get the Brutalist here. I know New York is getting that one, so bit good about that. What have I watched? On my birthday, we did like the Mad Max double. Still prefer Furiosa, but it makes it even better just watching them back to back. It's the first time I've done it. We both loved it, and that was great. It was Anna's first watch Furiosa. I think she gave it like a 4.5, so she loved it. What else did I watch? I went to see The Third Man in cinemas, which is the Orson Welles one. That was great. Watched a few westerns recently. Gun Clancy, Madame Clementine. Watched a few like John Ford's. What else did I watch? What did I speak to? Transformers. Obviously, I managed to take off 4 this week. So I watched the first one for the I've obviously watched that one before. I watched the what was the second one called? Revenge of the Fallen, Dark of the Moon, and Age of Extinction. Yeah. Watch those. Didn't get a chance to watch the other ones, but I have seen. Obviously, I know we reviewed whatever that fucking one was called. The worst one. Watched The Penguin yesterday, which obviously I think we discussed yesterday. We're kind of just gonna do what we did with House of Dragon, like briefly mention it, but really do like a end of season recap almost. But just to give you some thoughts, I think it's great. I think it's really, really good. It's like it's kind of just exactly the vibe and the tone that I wanted from Penguin series. Funny, develops mob life. It's gonna be really good. I'm really excited for it. I also watched, George, I don't know if you've seen it, the Wes Craven debut film, that Last House on the Left. It was like his debut, I think.
No, I've watched the remake for some reason, but I've never watched the original.
I didn't like it, and I don't think you'd like it at all, so don't watch it. It's very odd. After Sun. I showed down After Sun as well. Second watch is even harder, man. Like I was crying my eyes out. It fucking hit me so much. And
try a 4th and a 5th watch.
And I don't want to. It's like 2 years wasn't enough between, you know what I mean? It's such a hard film, but it's like it went up even higher on my like decade ranking this time around, and Anna loved it as well, which is great. And that's kind of it. A lot of it's been Transformers related, which obviously we'll go over. The Substance, obviously, I watched as well. And then other than that, that's kind of it. That's kind of it for this week.
Nice. Cameron, some more house renovations, I imagine, and same old type stuff. What have you been up to, and what have you been watching?
We're starting to lay tile right now, which means we can start putting cabinets in, which hopefully means we're getting closer. We'll see. Really just working on the house a lot. And that's what I'll be doing next week and the week after and forever and ever. But no, it's starting to come together, like I said, which is good to see. We got to get like the vents like cleaned out this week. Like there's like a bunch of dust in them and stuff. So hopefully that goes well. It's a super old house though. So like the vents aren't the same size as a normal house vent. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, not other than that, not a whole lot. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think. I didn't do shit this week, man. I had Thursday off from work, so that was great, but it just worked on the house. I did watch a bunch of Transformers, got through them all. Love a good Transformers binge. I watched Pitch Perfect again this week. We like showed Bailey Pitch Perfect, just like we were laying in bed at night, and he wasn't going to bed just yet, and we just turned Pitch Perfect on basically all week. So watched it throughout the week, and man, this movie's just so good. I said, fuck it, like I don't care anymore. So I just made it 100 out of 100. It's one of my favorite movies ever. So we'll just
Good.
I remember like ReelTok episode 2. You had talked about Pitch Perfect.
No, I still stand by it.
Like
it's like not the best movie ever. It's simply
it is.
Like I love
it.
I love it so much.
Little foreshadowing. If you want to hear what position Pitch Perfect would play in basketball, make sure you listen to Real Quick on Thursday.
Yeah, it's a glue guy of my life. But yeah, I think that's it. Other than all the Transformers that I watched, and then last night we rewatched like the Pitch Perfect like last 30 minutes just simply because I wanted to. And it's a shame that the Troublemakers got robbed by the Barton Bellas at the final performance. Like the Barton had a great set, but the Troublemakers with I got the magic in me, or I guess that's just magic. That's what it's called. With magic, it's just a banger. It's just simply a banger.
It's the story. It's just the Barton Bellas had a better story, a better narrative around the W.
I know. It's crazy.
Like you need it for the headlines. Yeah,
rigged league. It's a rigged league, man. But yeah, it's simply I just big Transformers week. That's about it. Can't wait to talk.
Wonder what the betting odds were going into that final battle.
Barton
Bellas
plus $1 billion probably. I mean, anyone picking them is crazy. Shouldn't have even been there. There's a crazy high schooler, high school ringer coming in the previous performance to steal the show. Good performance.
George,
that's about it though.
My week good. It lacked in movies. I actually think this is probably the least amount of films I've seen in a week this year, which was 6 total, which I feel like for like a normal movie goer, that's probably a chunk of film. Yeah. But for us who usually put up 15 movies a week, probably more. Like I'm just looking at my diary, and the fact that I don't have to scroll to like continue what I've watched this week is a little crazy. But week's good. I busy at work, but I was working from home yesterday, and I'm typically work from home 5 days. I mean, work from office 5 days, just because yesterday is just a prime example. I had 2 meetings, and outside of those meetings, 0 productivity. I was watching Dark of the Moon, wasn't paying attention to my laptop. I was cleaning my apartment, wasn't paying attention to my laptop. Doing my laundry, wasn't paying attention to my laptop. And like hour and a half would go by, and I'd be like, oh shit, I'm like, this is not a weekend, this is an actual day. So in office, so much better, I think. 5 days, but work busy. We had a couple friends over yesterday night, just to like hang out, played like Mario Kart, played Quiplash. I don't know if you guys know those games.
I love
Good
those.
game. Good game.
Yeah.
Quiplash is great.
Quiplash is fun, especially with a large group of people. Can always be fun.
Always have to test the waters of the room.
Exactly.
Yeah.
First round is
A
always
little scary
just-
with the large group if you don't know.
Exactly. And last night we were like, it was like a mesh of like my college friends and a couple of Victoria's work friends. So everyone, the first round, we were just like testing the waters. Like, all right, what jokes are acceptable? What's not acceptable? And then by round 3, we were throwing out some not so fun
Questionable
jokes.
things. Yeah.
Some questionable things.
How
that
Quiplash always goes.
made me very made me laugh a lot. But yeah, had friends over last night, just ordered pizza, drank, ate, chilled, spent the day cleaning just in preparation for that. Wednesday night had that early screening of The Substance, which it was at the Metrograph. It was actually planned and hosted by Sophie. She got a new job at Moob. Yeah, she
I know
got a new job.
She does the like videos and stuff now for she like checks them for.
Yeah, she works for Mubi now.
She works for Mubi.
Mubi.
No.
Didn't she introduce the film?
Yeah, she introduced the film.
Oh shit, that's cool.
Yeah, this was like the first big event she planned, so the event was awesome. Very proud of her. She did a really good job.
Shout out Sophie.
Shout out Sophie. I wish I liked the movie more, unfortunately.
Boo Sophie.
Boo Sophie. Bad movie.
Save for the review though.
We'll save for the review. But the event itself was great. The event itself was really awesome. I don't know if you guys have seen Problemista, but that guy
still out here, yeah.
That guy or that
Julio
kid
Torres
was there. Yeah, Julio Torres was there. There was some girl from Saturday Night Live there who I unfortunately didn't know. I'm sorry. But yeah, she got a lot of great people to be there. She put on a really good event. I mean, listen, and we'll get into it when we talk about the movie. As much as I didn't like the movie, the experience of like watching people react to the movie was very enjoyable. Like even me, like I was looking left, I was looking right. People had their eyes closed. People were like trying to like look at the ceiling or look down because they didn't want to look at the screen. It was fun. It was a fun experience. I just wish I liked the movie more. But that was pretty much it on the week. I barreled through a couple of Transformers movies. I would have liked to check off a few more, but I only got through Age of Extinction, Revenge of the Fallen, and Dark of the Moon. Obviously, I didn't need to rewatch the first Transformers. I've seen that.
So long as well. Like,
so
long films.
Oh. The first one's not overly long, but
they're all like 2 hours.
They're all like 2.5 hours plus. Though.
Yeah, they're
that
long
is
as
like,
shit.
You know, it's not like watching Halloween or some shit. You know?
Yeah, but no, I didn't. I wanted to for some reason rewatch like The Last Night and even Bumblebee.
You should have, so we can talk about ass.
I mean,
I want to watch. I want to watch.
We are still going to talk about Super Ass. Don't worry.
Super ass.
And then other than that, I randomly threw on Order of the Phoenix. I feel like I've seen the Harry Potter movie so many times. I don't even care about going in order anymore. Like I randomly threw on Prisoner of Azkaban like 2 months ago. I threw on Order of the Phoenix now. The next one I watch will probably be like Goblet of Fire. So I'm just like going backwards or something. And then I also watched Ginger Snaps.
What is that?
I don't know.
So it's like this. So I looked on Letterboxd and I was like, I looked for just like a horror list, and I found one of the horror lists, and this was like in the top 10, and I noticed that our good friend Kay Meeks gives it a 4.5. So it's like this practical effect, somewhat body horror type movie about these two sisters who on the night of one of theirs first period, they get attacked by like an animal, and the girl that gets attacked by an animal just goes through a bunch of changes. So it's a heavy commentary on like the changing female body. It was a very good movie. Seth, I actually think you would enjoy it. The practical effect work was just gross, especially as we get to like the back like 20 to half hour of the movie.
The poster looks so like late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, it's like the corniest looking poster. Like the text is like written in blood. It's so corny. But no, the movie was very good. If you look at like the banner I chose, like what's it called? Is it called the banner?
Yeah, banner.
The backdrop. It's a girl stabbed through a fence.
Yeah.
people were talking about this movie over like the last week because Sabrina Carpenter like recreated that scene in one of her.
Oh, is that
music
the
videos.
General Ortega?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not
I don't know
watching
if it
this
was
film.
General Ortega.
I've just seen your thing. I'm not watching this film anymore.
Why? What did I do?
Dead dogs? No.
Oh yeah, bro. Movie
Bro.
opens. Sorry, spoilers. Movie opens with a dog like dismembered across a yard.
Is it already dismembered, or does it get dismembered?
You hear it get dismembered.
No.
You don't see it.
No.
Sorry,
But then you see the dismemberment, and it's gross.
No.
But yeah, there were a good chunk of dead animals in this movie.
Nice.
But yeah, that was about it. That was it on my week. Yeah.
Did you like the Penguin?
Oh yes, right. Penguin. God, see, I'm looking at my
Tom, did you
diary
like the
on
Penguin?
Letterboxd.
I forgot to mention that the Penguin's great, but it's another one of the. Sorry, George, to cut you off. It's
No, go.
It's another good comic book show for comic book fans to be like, this is what the Goodfellas is. This is what Sopranos is.
Oh, Tyler.
Yeah,
Goodfellows.
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 It's just one of those things that's like, I don't know. I like it a lot. Don't get me wrong. It's just gonna make people insufferable.
Here we go. Hey,
honestly, Agatha.
What'd you think of? I was about to ask what you thought of Agatha all along.
I mean, the second line of dialogue, Agatha actually not horrible. Dialogue is terrible. Second line of dialogue is quite literally, there I was sitting at my desk playing Candy Crush when something happened after that. Then
brainwashing kids with woke and naked women.
Yeah,
later in the
movie. I saw that.
Later in the movie, she says something about the things you're roasting me for are the things that make me dangerous, or something like that. And it's really bad dialogue. But the naked woman part is kind of funny because like you have like a man with his wife and kid trying to like shield his kid's eyes while he's just staring at her, and the wife's like, "What are you doing?" It's just kind of fun.
Was she in any of the films, Carm?
No, she was
in WandaVision.
The first episode like really sucks, but then the end is like actually really good. Like I really liked the end of the first episode, and that may be largely in part due to
naked women.
No, that was in the middle of the episode. That may largely be in part to Aubrey Plaza, Evil Witch, and I was like, yeah. I like
she can source.
Before we get to George's thoughts on Penguin, Agatha episode two episodes greater or less than the Penguin episode 1?
Worse.
Worse. Okay.
Let's not be silly about ourselves right now. Yeah, it's just I don't know, man. The entire Agatha show is like, you're the most dangerous witch of them all. I don't know. She's kind of like, it's Catherine Hahn running around being a little goofy and a little like kind of mean, but like not dangerous at all. Like she's not doing anything, and we've never seen her do anything. So it's like, why give us a show where she actually is the most dangerous witch of them all?
I'll build you up to it, Cameron. Build you up to the big moment.
I don't know. The end of episode 2 almost has her like betray everyone and like kill them all, and that would have been something. But instead, like they find a path to like the witch's road, and now they're all like pals or something. It's just I don't know. I'm sorry, Marvel. What are we doing? Right? I love you, Catherine Hahn. What are we doing?
I get it. I saw one text from, I think it was Kevin, Movies Man that said I negatively reviewed Agatha, and I got a slew of like, you're a misogynist comments.
Yeah.
So even if I watch the show, I'll probably never talk about it.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Marvel Studios is cooked in the television realm. Like their brain is
just in the
television realm. I mean, like movies.
They got Loki.
Loki's great.
Like they've really made good shows.
It's like when I tweeted up Blumhouse's ass, and people were like, they made Get Out. I'm like, yeah, they made that one show years ago. One movie years ago.
They made Iron Man.
WandaVision's not bad, and I genuinely like accept the blame of like the finale is very rushed.
I agree,
and we've talked about it plenty. Like they had like 4 or 5 days that they just had to speed everything up and just say get this out before COVID. Basically, I get that happens. We don't have that excuse anymore. It's over. It's Jover. And
it's Jover.
It's officially Jover and Marvel Studios. Marvel Television is so cooked and so fried in the head that they're just I don't know what they're gonna do, man. Catherine Hunt and Aubrey Plaza, go make Parks and Rec season 8. Like, do that instead.
Dead ass.
Or make
Give me
a
reunion
companion podcast like everyone else does about sitcoms. From
I
years
think
ago.
I think Adam Scott and oh goodness, I'm blanking on the main character. Leslie, no, what's her name? I'm blanking. Someone help me here.
Poehler is Amy Poehler.
Amy Poehler, yeah, thank you. I think they were all at the premiere, so it's like fun to see a nice reunion. But yeah, like just I don't know, guys.
Someone listening should make a compilation of Cam of things he said about the MCU and do like a "We're so back." It's Joe for me. Him just saying one thing really excited, and the next he's just like, "Wow,
we need the Escape Pod like fan page or some fan who just makes clips like edits of like silly things people have said."
Just Cam said that'd be so.
I don't know. It's Jover. MCU's lost.
But
we're gonna be so back next movie.
Like Seth alluded to, as these like Agatha all along and the Batman episodes are coming out, we'll like touch on them in like kind of our what have we been watching. Then we'll do we're not gonna do a full episode on Agatha all along. Sorry for any MCU lovers, but we already said we're gonna do the Penguin series review, and we're also gonna wrap that in with probably like a Batman special and go over the Batman movies. Would be really fun. But with that preamble being said, George, the Penguin episode 1, what are your thoughts?
I loved it. And back to we're not doing an Agatha episode. Maybe we do an Agatha episode. Maybe we turn it into like a Marvel TV show breakdown episode.
Because then I'd have to watch
quitting the podcast.
So much Marvel.
I mean, in fairness, I was talking about like me, Alex, and Sammy. I didn't think Tyler.
Oh, okay. No worries, George.
Yeah, I didn't think you guys would suffer through.
I'll watch Loki.
You did watch Loki, fair. But no, Penguin was great. I mean, I immediately tweeted like, damn, I have the biggest smile across my face right now. Once like those opening credits started rolling and it took you through like the events like of the Batman, I was like, damn, this is just we're like bad. We're so back. We're so back in like the world of Matt Reeves Batman universe, and it's just so cool. I love the like Danny DeVito, like the quirky, like kind of comedy Penguin, but
he's so funny in it.
He's very funny, but I love this like hard ass mafia boss Penguin that like Colin Farrell is putting on. I think he's insane. The way he's just like very calmly moving through his business, very calmly like orchestrating everything, and he's doing it with just so much like badass energy. Like, dude,
equally as funny though in the car.
Dude, hilarious,
so
hysterical. So like, we're not spoiling. Because I was about to spoil something, but yeah, man, I was just the entire time I was locked in. I'm very excited to see the dynamic between Oz and what was his name, Victor, I believe.
Victor. Could be Mr. Freeze.
Really?
That was like a Blu-ray angel.
I was like, oh wait,
I saw that. Yeah.
Okay, dude, I was dumbfounded at me. I was like, wait, what?
Someone tweeted like
I saw.
Someone tweeted you said his name's Victor, and it was a picture of
Blu-ray Angel.
Yeah,
someone said that he would say it, and then he did say it.
And then he did say it. Yeah, very funny.
He's become
that account is genius.
Yeah, Blu-ray Angel is genius, I think, because he tweeted a poll. It was what is like Robert Pattinson's best performance, and he had like the Batman,
Twilight,
the Batman, and then he had 2 unknown movies. So I was like, "You are
it was
the
random.
King of bait," because obviously people are going to comment like, "Where's
Lighthouse,
Good Time? Where's High Life? Where's the Lighthouse?"
Yeah.
He's a genius when it comes to bait tweets. So annoying. And I hate seeing his tweets.
I kind of like it. I'm going to be honest.
As a man,
at some point, as a man, at some point, I just got to be like, hats off, bro. I respect it.
Yeah, I respect it.
Sophia Falcone might already be my favorite character in the show. Victoria and I were watching the episode, and we just kept looking at each other like, damn, she's creepy as fuck. Like
it's her eyes.
Yeah, dude. It's
crazy
like she's not
eyes.
blinking, and she's got like those beady eyes, but she's so good. It's such an interesting character. I'm very excited to see like where her character goes, because you have to imagine the rest of the show is going to be Oz and Sophia just kind of going back and forth. Like I think that's going to be the show, just both of them fighting for power. Yeah, so I'm very excited to like see
Salvatore Maroni as well. I don't think
Salvatore Maroni. Yeah,
Maroni's will be there.
See, does he get out? I mean, I don't want to spoil now.
I think he's running it through in the prison.
But,
He's
but
in
he'll
prison
still,
in the movie.
yeah,
There'll
It's not
still be a
spoiler.
family who attacks
I just think it's
Oz, and then it'll be like a back and forth. They'll be like the middleman.
Okay.
It'll just because Oz. I said this to Anna last night. He's like such a snaky guy. He reminds me of like a Lord Baelish, where he's just trying to get on everyone's like side almost
Yeah.
and trying to take advantages. And
Yeah.
um,
And
I
Maroney,
think,
Maroney
though-
even said that. Maroney's like, you
Yeah,
know,
he
you used to
did.
be with me, and then you betrayed me. Now you were with the Falcons, and you
you're
betrayed
the
them. Like,
Falcons.
what's stopping you from betraying me again? So yeah, he's good comp.
I
there,
think,
man.
like when you compare this to other shows that have come out recently, like The Last of Us, House of the Dragon. I can't remember. We've watched some other things recently. This like first episode has been the one that's like kind of hooked me the most and got me the most excited just to be back in this world. I think
Yeah.
because I love the exploration of the kind of underworld of Gotham anyway. Like it's not done before. The same sort of tonally anyway. So yeah, I'm like really, really,
Would
really
have been
excited.
more flooded. Make the entire show in an aquarium.
And if we get Clayface like episode 5 or some shit.
Stop.
There it is.
Clayface. Imagine like in the middle of this show, like a massive
Every
Clayface just comes
episode.
out.
That'd be
CGI
insane.
monster. That'd be crazy. But yeah, this show looks it's fucking cool, and I'm very excited to continue it. It's great.
Yeah, it looks sick. It looks sick. Obviously, the Batman the movie dove into like the criminal underworld with the Falcons. But this is just going to take us to like another level. Like it's episode 1. We've already left Gotham. Like he already went out to whatever neighboring suburbs in the Long Island, we'll call it. Like he already went out to Long Island, already visiting like the higher ups. Like he's out of Gotham a little bit, so it's cool. Like we're seeing like
a lot happened.
Truly, a lot happened in this episode, and we're seeing a lot of like the ranks of like this underworld that he's trying to climb this ladder. So really cool. Definitely the most excited I've been for a show in a bit of time. It was a really good episode 1. Dude, I really thought they were dropping 2 episodes. So episode 1 ended, and I immediately obviously went back to like the page on HBO Max, and I didn't see episode 2. And I was like, no, what the fuck? And it just like ruined my whole day, my whole night. I was so pissed off. I was so excited. I was so excited to lock into episode 2. And then we were like Googling it, like, oh, it's like now.
Do we know how many
Sunday.
episodes there's going to be?
I have no idea.
I guess it's
like 10. I'm assuming.
I hope 10. I mean,
do we know? Sorry, do we know if this is a single season or they're aiming for multiple? I can't actually know.
I don't think they've ever confirmed.
So
did not say.
Yeah, the timeline. So Batman Part 2 takes place a week after the events of Penguin.
Is it? Oh shit!
And the Penguin takes place like a week after the Batman.
That's a week after the Batman. Then
yeah.
I like that. That's cool.
I doubt they're gonna just squeeze 2 seasons of television in between the 2 Batman movies.
Probably not if it's 10 episodes now.
Yeah. Would be cool if it went like Batman movie, Penguin season, Batman movie 2, Penguin season 2. That'd be very interesting.
I can imagine doing that.
Yeah, but we'll see. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I really liked it.
Nice. I did not catch Penguin episode 1, but I'm excited for it. I'll get to it. We're filming on a Saturday morning this week, so I crammed in some more Transformers stuff instead of getting to Penguin episode 1. But very excited for it. Heard great things. For me this week, been hectic. I've been traveling like crazy for work. So 2 weeks ago, I went to South Dakota, and then from there I went home to Minnesota for a couple of days for a wedding. Shout out Derek and Claire for their wedding. Flew back from Minnesota down to Phoenix on a Sunday. Then the Monday right after, flew up from Phoenix to Detroit. So I was in Detroit this week. Then came back on Thursday. Been home for 2 days now, 3 days. And then tomorrow at 4 a.m., I head to the airport to go to Pennsylvania for a week. So
you
all over the country.
I feel really bad for you sometimes.
Yeah, it's ass, dude. It's ass. And planes suck. I can never get comfortable on a plane or like sleep or anything.
What's the average flight like time for you when you're traveling? Is it like a few hours?
Yeah, that's the thing that's ass too. Is I travel so like Phoenix is just tucked in the southwest of America, and I'm always flying to like East Coast or North, and it's like 3 hours, like the minimum flight I'm getting each time. And usually they have multiple legs. Like when I go to Pennsylvania, I'm flying to Detroit and then to Pennsylvania. So like a 3 hour flight, then an hour and a half flight, maybe even over 3 hours. So just ass, a lot of flying, racking up the Delta Sky miles, which is nice, I guess. But yeah, I don't have anything planned yet for traveling after this week. I know I'm going to have stuff pop up for work, but nothing on the schedule right now. So I'm hoping for at least 2 weeks to be able to breathe, just because everything is thrown out of a rhythm, like working out, eating healthy, making TikToks, filming content, just daily life just gets thrown through a loop when you're traveling all
Just
the
come
time.
to England, Tyler. Just like fly here next time.
I would love to, and maybe one day I can get work to foot that bill. I would love that. But yeah,
Do you not
so
work for a British company? You do, don't you?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it works. But they're kind of like separate though, so probably will never get blown to England. But I mean, if I do, I'll come. Maybe it can be like London Film Festival 2025. That'd be hype. But yeah, so I haven't been watching a ton of movies. George said it was like his least watched movie week. I'm right up there. I only watched like 4 movies this week, or 5, I guess. So on my flight to South Dakota, which I should have known, like I knew North by Northwest had like the iconic, like the poster is like Mount Rushmore in South Dakota. So like I should have known, but for some reason, like I put it on my plane watching without like even thinking about like, oh, I'm flying to South Dakota, so let's watch a movie about South Dakota.
That's cool.
But it worked out well. But North by Northwest, I mean, just what a movie. Just I'd already heard about a lot of the iconic shots and moments, but seeing them actually just was incredible. Just a crazy movie. Just the final sequence, especially the plane sequence, like just kind of just like a bonkers.
I've seen that like in The Simpsons, and like that's clipped so many times. And when I watched the film, I was like, man, it's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's
Alfred
so
Hitchcock, certified madman, but
hot
great
take,
movie.
Good director. Hot take.
Yeah, hot take. I give it
Really
4.5. Loved it. About time. Rewatched that at home. Copped the DVD from my dad. I grabbed a bunch of DVDs while I was home, actually. And just
funniest text you've ever
smuggled it
sent
home.
with the Heat DVDs.
Yeah. Well, I found because I was
crying.
texting you guys as I was going through my dad's DVD collection. I'm like, I just found 2 copies of the Heat. I'm like, no way, a 3rd copy.
I
of
showed
the
Anna.
Heat.
I showed Anna that, and we would both just proper laugh. It was like the stupidest thing.
It's like what
It's
a
the most
movie to have
random
3
film
copies of.
possible.
Because like my dad's DVD collection is a collection of like his, like my stepmom's, like stuff he's inherited from people passing. So like there's a ton of movies he had 2 of, but the only one he had 3 of was The Heat with Sandra Bullock.
I saw someone like reply to tweet like maybe he just like kept trying until he found De Niro and Pacino.
Yeah, about Michael Mann's Heat. But I mean, what they say, Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy are a poor man's Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. That's what all the folks are saying.
For sure.
And then the Transformers watch, I got through the 3 LaBeouf movies, the Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen, Dark of the Moon. Then I watched Transformers 1 yesterday, and then The Substance. So really, podcast prep, and that's where it ends for the movies I was able to tick off this week, which is kind of why I didn't get to the Penguin. But a lot of travel, a lot of craziness, but hopefully it settles down here soon because I really need to and want to get back into a rhythm. But with that, let's get into our episode. The bulk of it with Transformers 1 reviews where we're going to start. So Cam, George, and myself saw this. George, I feel like you've seen this like a year ago at this point because I feel like you saw it so early. But Transformers 1, directed by Josh Cooley, witness the untold origin story of Optimus Prime and Megatron, better known as sworn enemies, but once were friends, bonded like brothers who changed the fate of Cybertron forever. Animated movie, obviously, but it's one of those that like I didn't realize was animated like a year ago or whatever when this was announced. I thought we were just going to keep it rolling with Transformers movies, but animated, which they've done animated stuff in the past, but this is like the first animated anything that I've seen of Transformers. So it was a very interesting change of pace. Fun movie. Cam, I saw in your review, you talked about the voice acting, and I totally agree because I don't know if it's like a feature or a hindrance when a voice actor is so recognizable by voice, but like it does take a while to adapt to, like, especially like Scarlett Johansson. You're like, yeah, that's just like that Scarlett Johansson's voice. And maybe it's because she's also done like her. So like her voice in movies, even without seeing her face, is like so instantly recognizable. But yeah, there's a way different vibe than, which Cam, you also touched on in your review, than anything we saw in like the Bay movies, which is it's just a fun change of pace. I had to look this up. So the Lacan 5000 race is what it's called. Gave me major Boon to Eve classic vibes, just like a kid getting into an adult race. And just shocking the world. So just a lot of fun, and it's quick. And Seth talked about how every Transformers movie is like 2.5 hours. This one's just like a tight 90 minutes. So really just in every way possible different than what we've been seeing lately from Transformers. But I had a good time with it. I thought it was fun. Didn't love it or anything, but I think it's a very inoffensive movie. And it was a movie that I think all of us saw, like when we heard about it and we talked about probably in the beginning of the year and talking about movies coming out, we're like, I think we all kind of thought this might be ass. So pleasant surprise.
Not me.
Okay, well, we'll check the tapes, but I think I remember George and I saying it was going to be ass. But we'll start with I guess Cam, since you're the biggest Transformers 1 defender. I kind of already gave some high level thoughts for myself, but Cam, what are your thoughts on Transformers 1?
Yeah, I really liked it. I gave it a 75 out of 100, 4 out of 5 stars. Fun fact right now is that the fans score on Letterboxd is a 3.5 or 3.8, and so is my friend's score. Perfectly aligned, perfectly balanced, as all things should be. But yeah, I was a big fan of Transformers 1. I'm a big fan of Transformers in general, so it's not a shock by any means. I'll say I think like I mentioned in my review, it's a nice refresher to see like the Transformers I kind of grew up with as a child, like in cartoons and stuff, and like seeing a young, hopeful, jolly Optimus Prime is great. And I love the Bay movies. I'll defend them forever. But Optimus Prime's character is not a like give me your face character that he yells at the Fallen in Revenge of the Fallen, or like a Time to Find Out and just murders Megatron like out of nowhere. Like he's very much like a Superman kind of character that like has a lot of hope and a lot of joy for the planet and things like that. And there's like a million times in the Bayverse movies that he mentions he doesn't kill humans. There's like 1,000,001 times that he just kills people. So like it's just a really dumb thing that's in those movies. But yeah, it's I really enjoyed this. I think the animation style is great. Some people were saying there are moments like that are like Spider-Verse leap of faith level. I know what moments they're talking about, and we'll get into it. It's not there, but it is good. And I think you do really feel that like Optimus and Megatron are friends sometimes. Like I feel like they force in like an origin story where you're like these dudes just are not friends. But I think you can feel it, and I think Brian Tyree Henry specifically does a really good job as Megatron, especially like when that turn happens of going from like good but chaotic Megatron to like just evil Decepticon kind of guy. So I think that works. I believe it's John. Is it John Hamm? Yeah, that voices Sentinel.
Yeah.
I think he was the worst one. I don't think he's due.
So he was the only like unrecognizable voice that I had to Google. I the entire time I was watching the movie, I was like, I have no idea whose voice.
Yeah, no, I think for me, he was the worst one, and he was the most like just talking and not doing anything to like try to make his voice seem like it's in a Transformer or something. Like yeah, you can recognize Scarlett Johansson, you can recognize Chris Hemsworth and Keegan-Michael Key. And I think they all do a fine job of like trying to distinguish their voice a little bit, but John Hamm, like I think he just mailed it in and walked into the studio, said his lines, walked out and got his bag, which, hey, good for you, man. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I don't want to go into spoilers or anything. Like I said, it's pretty obvious that I was going to enjoy it. But big fan.
George.
Yeah, big fan too. One of definitely the big surprises of the year, I would say. I saw this so early, and I gotta like just shout out whoever put together that like early screening. Well done, because that whole theater was Transformers losers, Transformers nerds. Like people were walking in with like their action figures, wearing like Transformers cosplay, wearing Transformers t-shirts. Like they didn't just invite like lifestyle influencers just to get the word out. They invited people that were going to give a fuck about this movie. And when that third act like was taking off, dude, my theater was erupting, like No Way Home level eruptions, and I was having a fucking blast. But yeah, everything Cam said, I echo. I think this movie's so much fun, such an unexpected good time. It's nice having like an origin story. Like I know this doesn't work. I know this is not like in the Bayverse. There's no like connection to Michael Bay's 5 movies, but it's cool that we have like this Megatron, Optimus Prime origin, Cybertron as well, origin story, because it's just nice to see these characters in like a different environment. It's nice to see the two of them go from friends to enemies. Like Cam said, the animation, beautiful. It's really a lot of fun. There's everyone. What was the other movie that came out this year? Alien Romulus. Both Alien Romulus
movies that came out this year, to be fair.
What?
There were a couple other movies that
there's a good chunk of movies that have come out this year. No, but when Alien Romulus and Transformers 1 came out, I said basically like the same thing. Like there's nostalgia bits, like just created for the sake of an applause, but I don't find it as offensive in like Transformers 1 the way I do in some other movies, because that's never like the whole point of the movie. And I think the nostalgia just works, especially in that final act. You get so many like applaud-worthy moments that we'll get into, but I don't think it ever like takes away from like the overall narrative. And I think this movie, like, it's like a well-made film. It's a well-written movie. The character work is awesome. Voice acting is where I kind of like lose myself. And I don't know if I'm the only one with this opinion. I was never buying into Chris Hemsworth's Optimus Prime. Not once. Not once in the movie did I buy into his Optimus Prime. It wasn't bad. It was Chris Hemsworth. It was Scarlett Johansson.
He didn't have an accent. He was doing an American accent. Or I guess he did have an American accent. He was doing it.
But I think that's why it bothered me, because I don't think his accent was all that good. And you kept hearing like Chris Hemsworth like bleed through like the American accent that he was going for. But no, I had a really good time with this. It's still sitting in my top 10. It's like the bottom half of my top 10. So I'm sure by the end of the year, it'll be out of it, but holding up strong, coming up on October, still in the top 10. And I'm honestly, of all the movies I've seen this year, it's one of the ones I'm very excited to come to digital and, sit at home and just rewatch it.
Yeah, I don't know how much spoilers do we want to really get into with this, but for me, I think it's fun. I don't necessarily dislike any of the voice acting. I know you said like John Hamm and Chris Hemsworth. I just didn't think it was anything, I'm writing home about the voice acting. I think it is, like Cam said, just very obvious who they all are, which again, I don't really know if that is a feature or a detraction. But it was because Cam, you said you grew up kind of watching the cartoons. I never did. I've never seen like any animated Transformers, any of the cartoons. So for me, this is like kind of like a breath of fresh air, like just especially after watching all the Bay movies, which I do enjoy. And I enjoy that tone he's going for in those, but it's different and refreshing in this one. Whereas like I like Bumblebee and Rise of the Beast had like very different tones than the Bayverse as well, but like I just didn't really hit as well as this one did. But I have fun with this. I love seeing like Optimus Prime and Megatron just be like goofy little miscreants, rascals together, just like hanging around, just getting into trouble. And the racing scene is a whole lot of fun. Animation's cool in this. Like it's kind of different than anything we're kind of used to seeing. Again, I've at least seen what the animated shows look like. I know it looks quite different than this. But yeah, I think it's like a very fun, inoffensive movie. I think anyone who's a fan of any Transformers would have a blast with this. And I think if you're not a fan of Transformers, you might like it as well. But I wouldn't say if you're not already a Transformers fan that you would love this movie. But again, I just keep going back to this is a very inoffensive movie. I think it's kind of like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem coded, where it's like I think it'd be hard for someone to watch it and like hate the movie. They're going to watch it and everyone's probably going to come away and like it. Fun origin story. We get different sides of them. But that's kind of all I had to say. I'll invite you two. Do you have any spoilers you want to talk about, or?
Wait, we didn't mention Keegan-Michael Key. Absolutely hysterical.
He's great.
As B126. Hysterical. Everything that came out of his mouth just had me dying of laughter.
Yeah, he
was hilarious character.
I think I'll throw up the spoiler sign now, and we'll dive into talking as freely as we want about the movie now.
Yeah. So spoiler wise, like I think they handled the Sentinel turn really well. Like that's something I enjoyed because it was one of those things I was like, all right, when's Sentinel going to be the bad guy? I didn't know he was going like, I think you do if you're, just a Transformers fan, or you've seen like Dark of the Moon, like Sentinel is always the like prime that falls kind of thing. And so I was just kind of waiting for Sentinel to turn, or if he was going to join like Megatron. And then you're also waiting for like the Megatron turn. And I think they handled that really well with like, the Sentinel being this like godly being that everyone looks up to, everyone believes in because he's the last prime. And then like Megatron, like realizing, like the person I've been like praising my entire life, or the Transformer I've been praising my entire life has fallen and isn't the kind of person that we've been talking about. I forget what the other creature beings names are that come in and like kill all the primes. I forget what they're, beings are, but like the way he's working with them and he's giving up the energon to them. I think that all worked really well. I just kind of, like I said earlier, I kind of wish like John Hamm didn't just like phone it in with every line he read. And I think that would have worked a lot better for me. But I liked like Megatron, like is a big fan of Megatronius Prime, and he's got this sticker and then he gets branded the sticker onto him. Like that was a cool scene, I thought.
Cool. And
a cool like Decepticon origin. I was like, it was a point at screen moment, like Leo, like oh the Decepticon.
The movie has like so many of those moments that are just like so cool, where you're like, yo, like again, there's no connection to the Bayverse, but I feel like there are certain things you could point at and be like, oh, we see that progress in the Bayverse. And the sticker thing was cool. I was about to mention one thing that was that. It's completely slipping my mind already. Keep going, Cam. I'm going to think of something. Hold on.
It's fine. I think the biggest struggle with the Bay films is the lack of continuity. And we'll touch on that a lot, but like I think they're fun, silly movies, and the lack of continuity just makes me laugh even more at how silly they are. But I like that this gives like a definitive origin of like, which all of the Bay movies give a definitive origin. It's just always different. So we'll see if this one sticks. But I like that you get to see like a definitive origin of the Transformers, like getting their cogs and everything. And like they're all born with cogs, and why don't they have them now kind of thing. So I enjoy that. I think it leads into I'm sure we'll get a new Transformers animated movie. Pending how well this does, I don't know what the box office numbers are. I'm sure they'll come out eventually. But I'm sure we'll get another animated Transformers movie, like with the Cybertron Wars and like Megatron versus Optimus and them. And I think that'll all be good. But yeah, I just really like this movie, and I'm excited to see where it goes. George, I don't know if you remembered in that time.
You mentioned it actually, the being born without the cog. So I'm not like the Bay movies are the only Transformers things I've ever been exposed to. Never read like the OG comics, I guess, or watched the TV. So the entire time I was watching the movie, I was like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. I didn't know you had to like earn your cog to be able to transform. So as like an outside viewer, I think the movie handled that like flip very well. That like very cool, like little subversion of my expectations, where I was like, oh, shit, they were all born with cogs, but Sentinel is kind of a dick and just took them from them. That little turn I thought was handed well. Then I mean, we have to talk about the whole like the final third act of the movie where Optimus becomes Optimus, when I think it's Lawrence Fishburne's character is like narrating, and at one point he was like, and now you have become Optimus Prime. My theater people were standing up, dude. My theater exploded. It was so insane. But like that's like the nostalgia bit. And it's not even nostalgia. Like that works so well for the overall like story. But it's like one of those like that moment was made for Transformers fans. That moment in particular, and it was that whole third act was just such a fun clusterfuck of just point at screen clap moments that just felt so rewarding. But yeah, the final Megatron versus Optimus was cool. I like that this kind of sets up for like a future, because honestly, I thought this was going to be a one-off. Because for the longest time, I did think this was working as like an extension to the Bayverse. I even said it in my review like a week ago that I posted. I was like, this works really well as an extension of the Bayverse, because I thought that was its intention. But now thinking back on it, I think that's just a stupid thought, and I'm excited for whatever trilogy we have.
Yeah, I don't know what was going through the brain. I don't know how this works as a Bayverse extension, but you know, it's fine. People say it happens. But you mentioned the turn of like Optimus becoming Optimus. I forget what his name is. It's something OP in the movie, and then he becomes Optimus, and Megatron is like
Orion Pax.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so like it's pretty on the nose of like, he's gonna become Optimus or something at some point, and then Megatron is D something. Obviously, like Decepticons is coming from that. So I enjoyed that. I think the turn was handled really well. Like Megatron's kind of at the breaking point, wants to kill Sentinel, and Optimus throws himself in front of Megatron, and he's Megatron could save him, but he's like, I'm done saving your life or whatever. And I think that turn was really good. And I think that's where like Brian Tyree Henry did a really good job, like in the voice recording studio of delivering that emotion and kind of altering his voice a little bit to no longer be just like Brian Tyree Henry talking, but now he's got this like, more brooding Megatron-esque voice. So I like that. And I like that as they keep upgrading, they like get bigger and bigger and better. And I enjoy that. Like when they're minors, they're kind of like small and everything. But when they get their cog, they get a little bit bigger. And then once he steals Megatronius Prime's cog, and becomes like full on Megatron, he gets even bigger and upgrades even more. And then Optimus the same once he like falls to the depths of Cybertron, into Primus's heart, if you want to call it that. Like he becomes more Optimus Prime and becomes even bigger and more badass. So I really like that part of the movie. It makes you think. It's like, wouldn't if Energon was, so the whole crux of the movie is Energon's not flowing. They need the matrix of leadership to get Energon flowing. And Sentinel can't find, well, never mind. Never mind. I was going to say,
well, you're right.
I'm talking myself out of it. Is that Sentinel? Yeah, I'm right in that sense. I was going to say, wouldn't it have made more sense if Sentinel actually looked for the matrix of leadership so that he could restore Energon to give to these beings, like, because he's not getting enough. But then I forgot, like the matrix of leadership like dissolved in his hands because he's not worthy. So I talked myself out of it. That's my bad. That's Cam Walsh's brain going in a loop right there. But yeah, that's really all I have to talk about. I enjoyed the movie a lot though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I try to look at box office. It's too early right now to tell how well it's going to do. And the release for this was really weird because they had, obviously George's screening was super early, but I know I got invited to an early screening like a couple weeks ago, but I wasn't able to go because I was traveling. And then like we thought it was coming out last week, but apparently that was only some theaters. Now it seems like it's like fully rolled out, but still like the rollout strategy has been a little odd for this one. So it'll probably take a few weeks for us to really get a gather on what the box office is actually looking like here. But
let me tell you, the 10 p.m. screening was me, myself, one other guy, and I. It was a whole lot of nobody in
the target market though is sleeping by 10 p.m.
Yeah, that's entirely fair. I was feet up on the old. It was not a recliner theater, which kind of sucked, but I would have fallen asleep, I think, if it were. So that's all right. But I was feet up on the seats in front of me. I was chilling.
So quick recap on the scores. 4 from Cam.
Yeah, 75 out of 100.
3.5 from George, right? And then
yes, sir.
I gave it a 3. I haven't logged it on Letterboxd yet. I got back from the movie, and college football last night was kind of electric, so I just immediately dove into that, and I didn't even have a chance to write up on Letterboxd to film any TikToks or anything like that. But that does it for Transformers 1. But now we'll segue into like a Transformers franchise run through here. So I figured we would go through this in groupings. We could do like the LaBeouf trilogy, the LaBeoufage, the Wahlberg duo,
the LaBeouf,
Bumblebee, and Rise of the Beast. And then obviously Transformers 1, 2, but we just covered that in length. So we'll kind of break it up into those 4 segments. So first, the one I'll probably spend the most time on, the LaBeoufage, Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, Transformers Dark of the Moon,
Age of Extinction, and The Last Night are a part of the LaBeoufage. They're all directed by Michael Bay, and
they're all part of the Bayverse, but the Wahlberg duo has a very different tone and energy than the LaBeoufage.
I don't know if that's true. It's got a very different quality. I don't know if tone and energy is true though. Very different quality. That's fair.
No, tone and energy, I agree, are there, but there's basically an entirely new cast of characters, and we're introducing the knights and the round table like it just gets wild. But we'll start with the LaBeoufage because that's the way I decided to break this up. And I'm the host, damn it. Yeah, let's go. So this is the one I think I know George, you didn't rewatch Transformers 1, but you've seen it a ton of times. But this is one where the 3 we're all most familiar with, especially Seth and I just rewatched all 3 of these. So let's start talking about this one, or talking about these 3 in length. So we get Shia LaBeouf, Megan Fox for the first 2. Is it Rosie Huntington Whiteley?
Yeah, she's the one in Mad Max, which I didn't even realize until rewatch. Yeah,
Jason Statham's wife. But yeah, so
fascinating. Didn't know that.
No, you didn't know that?
She's only in like 3 films as well, or something.
Yeah,
I mean, that I know.
I feel like she could be in more stuff, but Megan Fox got the boot from the franchise. let's go. So Transformers 1, I rewatched, or first Transformers. Now this is have the same problem of like they're all. How do you differentiate all these? The first Transformers movie, I love this movie. I think this movie is just like perfect for what it's trying to do. I already really liked it. I used to not be as high on the second two Bay movies, but I always loved the original, but love this one even more on rewatch. It's at a 4.5 for me now. This is like the movie, or all three of these movies are like the ones that like introduced me as a young lad to, well, one, Linkin Park, but two, to like just how like just filmmaking. I remember just being like a 10-year-old, like not even having a concept of what it is to make a movie. And I'm like, how the hell are they making these Transformers like happen? Like the visual effects are incredible. And especially nowadays, it's such a hot button topic of visual effects not looking as great anymore, or movies just not looking as good anymore, especially blockbusters. I mean, we get the exceptions like Top Gun Maverick, Avatar: The Way of Water, but this movie looks so damn good. And it's this is the first time I've watched these movies since watching more Michael Bay movies, like the Bad Boys franchise. And it's just so coated with the same energy, like the sun-soaked backgrounds, the low-angled shots that are just feel like a music video almost. Just these movies are unbelievably iconic, and I have so much fun with them. And I know, George, Transformers, I think in episode the 2-year special, Transformers, the first one, was in your top 10 movies of all time back in when we did the first run through, like 2 years ago, right? But
Yes.
it's not anymore.
No.
So why do you hate it?
I think
no, it's the opposite. It's the
You
opposite.
flipped it. Yeah.
Why do
now,
you used to hate
never
it? Why do you love it now?
No. Never used to hate it, but you know, when we started this podcast, I wanted to seem, you know, a little more mature, so I didn't throw Transformers in my top 10. But now I'm at a point in my movie going career where, whatever, man, this movie is just undeniable. It's the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. I think it's every character's strongest. I don't want to say performance because we're talking about Transformers, but it's like it's the best every character has been in this franchise, in my humble opinion. Like it's the best version of Megatron that we've seen in the franchise. It's the best version of Optimus. It's the best version of Sam, although I do think you could argue Dark of the Moon for Sam. I do love that, like, more mature version of the character.
He's not more mature.
No, just not more mature, just older. Like,
hey, he got a suit and a job.
He arguably gets less mature.
All right, let's
I think he is less mature.
No,
he's not cheating on his girlfriends anymore. He has a big boy job. Okay. That's some maturity.
All right. Anyways, I love the sauce Michael Bay brings to this film. This film has like just my favorite color grading of any film ever. It's so like, it's so dark, but it's so like saturated. The blues just pop out. It has so many just iconic moments that genuinely just like make me so giddy every time I watch this movie. The first time, dude, we see Optimus transform for 2007, insane. I was about to say practical effects. Insane CGI.
That would be insane.
Yeah, that would be crazy. That'd be nuts. The first like chase sequence on the highway when Bumblebee gets captured, Steve Jablonsky's score going with it's called Bumblebee's Capture. It's just so emotional. And then you get to the dam and there's this like insanely cool moment where like Bumblebee touches the cube and it just collapses into the small, like, it's just, this movie has so many just incredible and some of my favorite Transformers moments. And again, my experience with Transformers is just these 8 movies that we're talking about. I've never like read the comics. I've never watched the TV show. But I think this first Transformers movie, I think it does everything just better than everything else. We'll talk about Dark of the Moon. I think that third act rivals the first Transformers. I love that it just gets bigger and bolder, but there's something about this first Transformers movie. Saying it feels like grounded sounds stupid, but like of this entire franchise, it just feels like the most personal, like the most personal to Megatron and Optimus' story, the most personal to Sam's story. I love this thing, man. I love the dynamic between Sam and Michaela. I love the dynamic between Sam and B. I love the dynamic between fucking Optimus and Sam. I think all of our characters just kind of mesh so well together. Arrival to Earth. I don't know how I haven't mentioned that yet. that whole scene, man. Oh, it's chef's kiss. This is one of the greats. This is what filmmaking is all about. This
Bro,
is
it's blazing. No.
Real quick on the arrival to Earth, something they do in this movie intentionally, and then every other movie not intentionally, is like, I love when they arrive, they all look like generic giant robots, and then once they like transform into whatever car they get, they get more like personality, and like Jazz looks like Jazz, and Optimus looks like Optimus, and like things like that. But when they arrive, they're just like giant metal robots. In the later movies, all the Decepticons look the exact fucking same, but I don't think that's an intentional. I think they were just like, fucking throw it, make them one-eyed. I don't care. Yeah, they just like don't choose. But in this, I enjoyed that. I like that they were able to, distinguish that.
It's fun.
Yeah. Oddly enough, for me, which I guess people who have been listening to the podcast for a while might not be surprised, because like I usually am like a little lower on like pure action, is the final. First movie, final 45 minutes. Second movie, final hour. Third movie, final like hour 45. Like they're just all out action battles at the end that just progressively get longer. That's usually like my least favorite part of the movies, which I still really like. But I'm saying like the stuff leading up to it, like the origin story and Transformers, love. Dark of the Moon, we're kind of jumping all over the place with the LaBuffagy, so feel free to jump in wherever. But the first hour of Transformers Dark of the Moon had me rolling. I forgot how fun. Like I don't know why I rated this so low. Like Ken Jeong, dude, and like and
John. What's his
Deep
name?
Wang. Hold on, Tyler. Am I bugging out right now, or did you used to have Dark of the Moon at a half?
You did at like a one star.
Yeah, I had it super low.
Okay,
crazy,
I really thought I was like losing my mind.
The thing I think is hard about franchise watches for me, maybe it's just a me problem, is I know George, you talked about Order of the Phoenix, how you kind of are starting to watch Harry Potter's like random movies, but usually I watch them all at once, and I still don't really like Revenge of the Fallen. And I think for me, when I'm going through a franchise,
the funniest one.
I think Revenge of the Fallen it is. I would say not the funniest. I think Dark of the Moon's funniest, but
Dark of the Moon has a funnier first hour, but I think Revenge of the Fallen is like consistently very.
Yeah, I love like Tweak and Witwicky and Revenge of the Fallen, but I still don't really love the movie compared to the other two. And I think it's just like when I'm watching through a franchise, like it's like Revenge of the Fallen. When I watch it, I'm like I don't love it as much. So I think it just sets me up for failure when you're like watching movies back to back to back, which I think it just shows like when we're doing these franchise binges, I need to give more time to breathe. But yeah, I used to not like Dark of the Moon at all, but now I don't know why I didn't. It's hilarious. I think the best feature of it is the new cast that gets added with Frances McDormand, Ken Jeong. We talked about.
Yeah, that was out of nowhere. I didn't know she was.
Why are all these
Patrick
Oscar
Dempsey.
winners in these fucking movies?
No, but they're perfect in these
film.
movies. And Patrick Dempsey also in Dark of the Moon. Like Michael Bay used all of them like the exact perfect amount. Like none of them overstayed their welcome, and none of them were in it too little. Like Ken Jeong, like how he just kept such a straight face in the bathroom scene. He comes out with his pants down and just stares at the boss. He's like, "What are you looking at?"
He's so funny.
Deep Wang.
It's so funny. I think that I really like the first Transformers when I was younger. I haven't seen it in a while. Really great. Expected to like that one. But Dark of the Moon, fuck you, Alex Coleman. We've let him win.
Yeah, we let him win.
Annoying.
It's so fun.
He played the long game.
I'm not like I text you guys when I was watching it. I was like, wait, why is this actually good? Like I was expecting
I sent that to him, and I was like,
I was expecting this to be like
a
a meme. But I think that Michael Bay, it's same with Tyler said with the Bad Boys films. He knows his landscape. I just wrote this in my review actually. He knows this landscape. He knows he it's very sort of hyper masculine, sleaze fest. You got the good looking girls, you got the ridiculous like machine clashing action sequences, you've got the ridiculous one-liners. You've got some fucking really offensive stereotyping in there as well, but it's like the quintessential
these
American
movies are racist.
No,
they are
racist. They're misogynistic.
Yeah, we're gonna
define. Oh my god, everything they have in is like, jeez, man. But Michael Bay, it's weird because he's not like entirely right. I'm gonna get into conversation, but it's like the final act of Revenge of the Fallen, especially. Did I go?
Yeah. No, go.
Oh, the final act of Revenge of the Fallen is like so stereotyped. It's just full of them. It's crazy. But it's like they're so overly silly in terms of their like patriotism and nationalism. They are like the classic, this is the sort of film you think of when you think of like middle-aged American dads, or at least what I think of a lot of the time.
They do on the nationalism point, they do use a lot of like the real military is there, like it like working with it. And I'm pretty sure I heard something that like or read something somewhere that like Michael Bay, if it's not used as like a military training, Michael Bay will pay for it out of his own pocket. But if they can use it as a military training, like they just pay through it. Like that's how they pay for a lot of the military funding. Like if it can't be used for a true military training, like he uses his own money to like fund it. But a lot of this, like I was watching a video earlier, is like the military saying like, if we were to handle a giant transforming robot, like this is the way we would actually do it. That is more so in like the second movie. Definitely as like the third, fourth, and fifth come around, like they get more hyper.
Well, it's like George said, they like progress from this more. Sorry, Kel. They progress from this more like personal note where it's like you're leading into. Sam Witwick, he's such a funny name, by the way. So dumb.
Ladies man 217.
I tweeted this yesterday. I know we texted this like yesterday. His rages are fucking hilarious.
Screams are so funny.
When he sat in the car in Dark of the Moon, it's the funniest shit ever. Like, it's so good. But he's just shouting. But like the first one, it's kind of it's more personal notes on him as a character, and like you see him in school and stuff. And the second one, he's in college and whatever. And they kind of build up to it, and then you get to we'll get onto this. This is outside of the what did you call it, Tyler?
LaBuffagy.
This is outside of LaBuffagy when you get to like Age of Extinction, where they're kind of just going like, "What the fuck is happening here?" And it just goes in the middle. But then Dark of the Moon, the final hour of Dark of the Moon, I actually think is like the epiphany of perfect American stupid blockbuster action sequences, but it's amazing. Like the final hour, the skyscraper, like that sequence is so fucking good. I was shocked. And the sequence when they hit the office building, and Shia LaBeouf's like running, the editing, the sound work, the color grading, as George said, like it's fucking impressive. Michael Bay knows his role, and he knows how to do that better than most of us can. And it's the same like Bad Boys. You watch Bad Boys 2 or whatever, and then watch the Transformers right after. Or any of his films, like Pain and Gain is very similar as well.
This is where
they're all the same.
I wish Michael Bay stopped making Transformers movies after the original trilogy because of how good Dark of the Moon works as like this LaBuffagy conclusion. Like I love Transformers 1. It's very like it's personal. It has so many fantastic Transformers moments, and it's my favorite Transformers movie. It's easily,
by the way,
soundtrack bangs, score bangs. It's easily my favorite Transformers movie. It's easily my favorite Michael Bay movie.
I think you just said Transformers 1, but you were talking about like Transformers.
I know it's hard, man.
You gotta
Wait,
keep
what?
that.
Say Transformers.
Fuck.
Say
The first Transformers is what I've been talking about.
I was
My
confused
bad.
at first.
Damn, my bad. The first Transformers, my favorite Michael Bay, my favorite Transformers film, but Dark of the Moon feels like a Michael Bay magnum opus. Like he is pulling out every single one of his tricks. This is the first Transformers on steroids. Like Sam's character, way more exaggerated. The final battle, it's so much longer. It's so much bigger. It's so much bolder.
It's brutal as well. Like it's sadistic in a way compared to the first one. I think it's progressively more sadistic in the points he's trying to get across because there's some strong commentary in these films. It's just crazy.
You know what? I never bought into the Dark of the Moon commentary on 9/11, and then I was talking to Alex about it, and he was giving me his thoughts, and then I rewatched Dark of the Moon.
He's spewing out of his fucking ass, though.
No, of course there's post 9/11 commentary.
Michael Bay is not that smart, is what I've
that's my problem. I don't think Michael Bay is that smart of a person.
No, dude, all his movies are very political.
Yes,
all his films are
not
like
just Transformers.
highly like. All his films are highly, critiques of merit. There is so much like post-catastrophe, post-terrorist type, post-9/11 commentary in the Transformers films. Like,
I think Dark of the Moon, where like John Turturro in all the movies, John Turturro every 10 seconds, like the Air Force, F-16s, baby.
Also very funny in these films, especially Revenge of the Fallen.
Dark of the Moon, he's the funniest when he's like, billionaires used to hate him, but now
Oh, we didn't even mention the Obama picture. That caught me off guard so fucking
much. Dude, the Obama it's like that Jimmy Fallon clip that Cam shared in our group chat where like I wasn't prepared for how ridiculous it would be. It's like when they're talking about like he shook Obama's hand. I'm like, I wasn't prepared for how ridiculous that picture
was.
Then he walks up to Carly and he puts the gun points gun at her with the
and he gets like a job interview.
Hysterical.
He gets a job interview. He's like talking about how what did he get from Obama? What's the
medal
of honor? And then he's like saying they're like, well, actually,
we're a
Bailey? we're a Republican office. So actually, like that's not going to
That
work
was
here.
good.
Next
All
time,
time, man.
oh, shit.
Just
That's
so dumb.
It's
And he's
so
being like-
silly.
And the Trump Tower is in that one too. The Michael Bay.
Trump
yeah,
Tower is a
Future.
major point of it. That's where Megatron's hiding out.
Yeah.
Like, it's just crazy.
They
but
make
Michael
a comment
Bay
at
was
one
not as
point,
much
like,
of
I forgot what the comment was about Trump Tower, but they made a comment like, we need to level this tower or something. They make some sort of comment about
that's where the Decepticons are hiding out, and so they're talking about the pillar that's in like one of the four corners of Trump Tower or something. Yeah, they're talking
they
about
said
the
like
pillar.
we need to take it out or something.
Not as much of a political commentary in
No,
like
because
at the time,
2012
it
as
was
it would
yeah.
be now.
No,
But just insane. like,
Megatron,
looking
folks.
back
How about Megatron?
at it. There we go. Incredible.
What are the
Incredible.
what are the little guys called? What's their like name?
Oh, the racist robots?
The racist
Like,
twins?
yeah,
The
they
racist
are
twins?
so ridiculous.
Twins are
Oh,
so.
I was
the
like,
twins
what?
are the worst part of any franchise. Any Transformers.
I
movie.
entirely
hate
disagree.
them.
I like
I
them.
hate them so
No,
much.
I disagree.
Mud Flip and
Mud Flap,
Skid
I
or
think,
something.
and-
Mud Flap and
Mud
Skid,
Flap. I
something
like
that.
them.
Fucking
I
hate
like
them,
them.
man.
I
Yo,
think
Cam.
they're really funny.
Cam, get your boy, bro. Why is he staring at me like that?
Yeah, he's actually looking at you like that.
Good reference to Real
Thank
Bros
you.
Simi Valley.
Only reference I
Um,
know. Good reference. Yeah,
I
I
love
like
that
them
we-
anyway. I think they're
I
funny.
love that we just like skipped over Revenge of the Fallen.
No, we're going back.
I like
we were-
Revenge.
yeah,
Well,
we're
I
going-
think I like
Revenge of the Fallen, and this might be the dumbest thing I've ever said on ReelTok Podcast. Revenge of the Fallen is just it's too dumb. Okay, and it's weird saying that because I think
No,
all
it is,
Transformers
you're
movies
right.
are kind of dumb. This one is just it's too stupid.
I
Like,
think it's
it's
the
insane.
silliest one.
I
like,
think yeah,
that's the-
exactly.
It's the
But like
funniest for sure.
it's the funniest for sure. It's the silliest for sure. But sometimes it just doesn't necessarily work for me. But I think Michael Bay just has that sauce that he can just like inject into any screenplay and just make the movie cool. Like the 1v1 battle in the forest between Optimus and
what's his name?
I'm forgetting that robot's name, but you know, the first like big
Yeah,
battle.
yeah.
Like that shit's sick. Like at one point,
Yeah,
and as I was rewatching the movie, I was like kind of like mostly impressed with like the sound design of this movie because
The
as
sound
that-
design
sound
in the
awesome.
first five are so
they're
good.
good.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So
Because
good.
typically-
It loses so much sauce in Bumblebee
Yeah.
and Rise of the Beast and
And you-
Transformers 1 for that point.
as
The
that
sound
whole
design
like
is so good.
forest, as the whole forest battle was going on, like I wasn't even paying attention to it, like to the music.
on.
But like there was like the score was so like mute, and all you were hearing was like the metal
clanking.
punches being thrown, the trees ripping from the ground, and I was like, damn, this is brutal. This genuinely reminded me of like Matt Reeves' The Batman, where like you can really hear every single punch Batman throws, like as if there's like a microphone on his fist.
There
But
is
yeah.
like a sadism to it. It's a lot more brutal than I thought, and especially like Revenge of the Fallen. I know. I don't think. What do you guys rate Revenge of the Fallen? Actually, I have no idea.
I gave it a
2.5.
2.5. I used to have it at
Okay,
a
well-
1.5. I raised it up because of how funny it is.
Okay.
You
I
genuinely-
like Revenge of the Fallen. I actually had a really good time with this. I think it's very similar. I don't think it's quite as good as the first. I like the whole intro, and I think it's the funniest one aside from maybe the first hour of documentary. It's tough. I like the final lights, and I also think the forest sequence is really, really great. I think this one has some really high highs that kind of took over for me. That made it. I enjoyed this one a lot more than I didn't.
I
Go
just
on.
need to make note of a couple of the quotes because the in Revenge of the Fall Revenge of the Fallen just being the funnest because when he says, you ever have a song that's playing in your head that you just can't get rid of? Kitten calendar, kitten calendar, kitten calendar, kitten calendar. So good. And then when he's describing the tongue that like that one woman
I
has,
just remembered that.
Michaela's like mad at him. He's like, you ever had your stomach have you ever had your stomach tongued by a mountain ox with a 5-foot tongue? It's not fun for me. Okay, Michaela. It smelled like diesel. It was like a diesely tinge to it. And she's like, you are such a baby. That is an hilarious quote.
John
And then
John
earlier
Turturro in this one is so funny though as well. Like he makes
Dude,
this one
working in the meat shop is so
good.
unnecessary.
So good.
so unnecessary.
So good.
Like,
But earlier
I liked Revenge of the Fallen. I think Revenge of the Fallen's good. Like I actually like this one quite a bit.
It's a bad, I don't know. It's a bad movie that's funny in my opinion. But
No, I think it's a good
for
film.
sure.
I actually do. Like I think it's a good film.
The
I don't think it's
best,
quite
like-
as good as like the other two were mentioning, but
a lot of things are funny just because like Sam is just going off yapping about nonsense and then like
He's
the
such
way
a
he's squinting is
moron, man.
funny. But like the funniest actually written joke in this movie, and the only time I'll tell Michael Bay he had like a clever joke was when the car Bumblebee like pulls up on the frat party and he goes, whose car is this? And he's like, oh, it's mine. We were going to get you a smaller t-shirt. And so and the other guy goes, there isn't a smaller one. We checked. And it's like,
No, I think it's
funny
full of
written joke.
I think it's full of like quite intelligent comedy. I think it all works.
Yapping about nonsense, man. Just kitten gather.
But it's like it's so like overtly silly, but like Michael Bay knows that it's so ridiculous that I
need to pull it up. I can't like pull it up because we'll probably get like
more jokes as the franchise goes. We speak about franchises a lot and how they attempt, like MCU, for example. I think in recent years their success rate with jokes has not been very good. I think Transformers, they make a lot more than they miss in terms of their jokes for me. Especially in the first.
There's a moment at that frat party where Leo's dancing and he hits him with a like one of those, and then, like just go watch Leo dancing in the frat party. Just rewatch that scene because I can't show it on pod. It's the funniest like dancing scene I've ever seen in my entire life. I was cackling at this thing, man. Yeah, and then the racist twins come in, and it's just like I hate these people, but
so funny.
I think they're really funny. I can't lie.
Racist robot.
They're just racist robot. I don't know. I don't find them funny, but Jetfire I think is hilarious because like every scene, Jetfire is the old Decepticon that becomes every scene he's in, he's like, Sam, there's no time. You must go. 3 pillars. Go. And he just doesn't speak at all. He just like throws nonsense out at Sam. I like that one. Yeah,
absolutely
incredible.
The score by the way, just to echo George was saying, the score. What's his name? Steve
Jablonski don't miss, bro.
It is like really
does not miss.
One thing I noticed on Dark of the Moon, the final battle, the score is literally just an identical rip or copy of the Hans Zimmer Inception trailer with like the bong. And if you watch it and listen to it with that in mind, you'll be like, holy shit, he just copied the shit. So that's the only strike I'll give on Steve Jablonski because it was a year after Inception came out. So clearly
it work within the context of the film though. It fucking slaps.
It works, it works. I'm sure they wish they could have just got Zimmer for it.
What I will say about Revenge of the Fallen, just because we've been praising it a bit, I want to shit on it for a second. I really don't like
it's got
the desert Egyptian pyramid setting. I don't think it worked all. See, I
think it's just a non-populated area that they could have big
it's the same problem that MCU and like DCEU had. They just go to like middle of nowhere for the battle.
Middle of nowhere fights, so you don't have to deal with like
like the first Transformers, Dark of the Moon. I'll even throw like Man of Steel. Like they're leveling cities, and it's awesome. And
well, Man of Steel got a lot of hate, and that's why like in Batman v Superman, if you rewatch that movie, there's like 3 or 4 moments where they're like, get them away from the city. We're away from the city. There's no people around. Like go rewatch that movie because it's a mess how many times they mention that there are no people around. Because Man of Steel got a lot of like pushback on that of like Superman flying through a building and killing someone. Like, and Optimus has that same issue where like he always talks about how he doesn't harm humans, blows a ship up or like runs into an airplane. In Age of Extinction, we'll talk about it. In Last Night, he makes the quote. I'm trying to think. I can't remember now. In Age of Extinction, I think he makes the quote of like, I'm never going to harm humans, but whoever did this, I will kill you. And then he kills Kelsey Grammer's character, just like literally blows him up. And then you see Kelsey Grammer just dead. It's like, it's so.
I didn't mind the pyramids.
Speaking of death scene, all-time death scene, TJ Miller.
Obviously, TJ Miller's is incredible.
Dude,
which one was that in? Because I didn't rewatch it.
Age of Extinction.
Age of Extinction. I watched
the most out of pocket. Okay, this just happened. Death scene of any Transformers movie.
And he filmed it like it was like a sensual woman. He's like all angled. He's like, look at this melted frozen body. Like, fuck this guy. I hate TJ Miller. But these movies, all the Michael Bay movies are undeniable technical masterpieces. And then Michael Bay has an incredible sauce. But I think like as much as he's a terrible guy, like Shia LaBeouf, I think is just an all-timer. I don't think that's why I don't like the Wahlberg ones as much, is because I don't think he can carry the movie the same way LaBeouf could. LaBeouf is so fucking good, man.
I don't know when he says I don't know if that's true, because when he says he runs into a ship or he's driving a ship, runs into a car, and the guy goes, "You better have insurance." And Mark Wahlberg was like, insurance. It's a freaking spaceship. And then he breaks a Bud Light
good
can
Wahlberg impression.
on his car.
That is the most American moment ever.
That is the funniest
most
moment
American
in any
moment ever.
movie. That is the funniest moment in
That's
any
like
of these movies.
Michael Bay as a scene.
Insurance.
That's
It's a
literally-
freaking spaceship.
I agree though, Tyler. I think that Shia LaBeouf, like his just neurotic, annoying, immature, he works so
It just
well in
makes
this film.
it because like his
Every
like over the
interaction,
top. It's hilarious.
so funny. It's
Every
so
time
good.
Shia LaBeouf, it's like I think why Shia LaBeouf works so well is because he is exactly how any human being would react
in this
in
scenario.
this situation,
His
just
first
screaming
sequence-
excessively.
When his car like is like following him and shit.
Yeah,
It's so
like,
funny. Like he's just
screaming.
reacting like
He
anyone.
calls,
Like,
he calls the cops and they're like, "You're on Mojo.
Yeah,
You're on Mojo. You
So
eyeing my
good.
piece, big dog?
Yeah,
You
my
eyeing
piece,
my
big dog?
piece?
Incredible.
we
Incredible.
do miss him. We do miss him.
Mark
in
Mark
Matrix.
Wahlberg just seemed
I don't know
like
if we
they
miss him. Not a
tried to
big
make
person.
Mark Wahlberg like too stoic for like my liking to like
Not
lead a
silly enough.
They tried
That's
to
just
make
like
him,
exactly.
the Mark
serious
Wahlberg
person and
experience.
everyone
So
else
every
is-
movie,
No, you
every
need
movie
you need
he's in, he makes him
happening
so
Mark
stoic.
Wahlberg in this. That's what
you need
Tyler.
trash Mark Wahlberg. What are we saying now, dude? We're just
there-
throwing shit out.
We need
There are a
Father
lot of-
Stu Mark Wahlberg.
I want to
Jesus.
mention like all of the continuity errors in these movies because like you could sit there, not all of them because it's genuinely impossible.
It's a chunk.
You could like sit there and tell me these are the worst movies ever because they make no sense, and I would 100% like be okay with that because simply like
No.
I find them silly. I like them. They don't work as a franchise. They all work as individual movies.
Right.
If you have
Each
no
individual
other-
movie works fine, but
yeah, if you have no other knowledge of any of the rest, because they all have some sort of MacGuffin, which is the new most powerful thing. So you have the spark, matrix of leadership, the pillars, the seed in Age of Extinction, and then the fourth is like the knight's staff or something that guides a dragon, which fucking sucks. But in the first, like the Allspark is the thing that like is the only thing that can repower Transformers Spark. The Allspark created Cybertron. Megatron like needs the cube, but they can't find it or something. And then later in the movie, I'm getting all over the place, but they can't come to Earth without ships in the later movies. But in this one, they just like fly to the Earth for no reason. They're all flying onto Earth. But in this movie, or in the first movie, Jazz cannot be revived, even though they have the Allspark, like pieces of it. In the second movie, Megatron is revived by just a shard of Allspark. And so like 90% of this movie and these movies as a whole, like don't make any sense. Then you introduce the matrix of leadership and it just gets more of like, oh, apparently Transformers were on Earth like back when the Aztecs were on Earth and stuff like that in the 17,000 BC, I think it is.
I like those, so then you can watch them as like individual films. You know, it's nice sometimes. We don't have to know. all
No
what's
way.
happening.
No
I'm so sorry.
way.
I
No
understand.
way are
but
you defending that, Seth.
I'm so
No
sorry, man. Like, come on,
way.
that's not it. That you can't
No.
defend horrible
That's
continuity.
no, because that's the
I-
no. My point is right. No. I'm not defending the decision. I'm saying for someone like me, who like a lot of my problem with like the MCU, for example, is that it's difficult to watch individual projects without having prior knowledge. With the Transformers, you can do that. That's what I'm
not,
saying.
but that's not the point of a franchise.
I
I'm,
get-
but
I
it's-
can- I
I'm not
understand.
defending. I'm just saying for me, it's nice to go into something and not have to have.
It's a failure by the film that works well.
It's a
for
failure
you
by the
personally.
franchise, but it's good for people like me who just want to
that's
like
fair,
go
that's
in and watch. Like
At the-
you know, the MC, that's the difficult.
I understand what you're saying. It's when you watch them back, I could totally understand like getting fatigued because this is like 20 hours of just nonsense back to back to back. And again, I find them funny and silly and goofy and dumb. But if you find them like horrible, I can't argue with you because in the second movie, like, or at the end of the first, they drop Megatron into this abyss because it's going to be 1 billion pounds of pressure and it's going to crush him into 1 million atoms. Second movie, he is chilling and like, still completely whole, gets revived and whatever. And then the matrix of leadership, they have Sam at the start of the movie gets zapped by this piece of this Allspark, mind you. And then he spends an entire movie trying to find a matrix of leadership to revive Optimus, when all you need is a small shard of the Allspark to revive a Transformer, because earlier in the movie, Megatron gets revived by it. The entire movie is him finding something he does not need. And then it's just nonsense, man. And then also Transformers having testicles in this one is the absolute funniest thing.
Jokes.
Like,
Jokes.
That's so
I'm
silly.
sitting under the alien scrotum.
That's Michael Bay saying, "Fuck you! I'm gonna do this right now.
I'm
I'm
just
gonna
going all
do
in.
it, and you're gonna sit through it, and you're gonna enjoy
And
it
you're gonna
or
watch
not
it.
enjoy it."
And
Go on, Cam. Sorry.
no, I have 1.5 million points, so interject whenever you need.
Okay, I'll just say mine. I think the Age of Extinction when I talk about as much. I watched it like this morning. The issue is for me, I still think there's some good stuff in this and there's some good moments. This one feels like it's around the same length. This one might be a little bit longer, like 240.
It is.
This one feels significantly longer than the previous three.
I tweeted it. The start of Age of Extinction's final battle starts at 1.5 hours and ends at 2:45. Like it's an hour
By
and
the time
15
it
of
got
pure
there, though,
just like
drivel, nonsense. It's just drivel for like by the time it got there, I enjoyed. And I again, I think there's some good comments in this one. Like economics, I think that this works. It's like a post-war thing, but then again, by the time we got to that showcase, I'm like, I don't care as much. With Dark and Moon, I had so much to keep me going.
See, yeah, that's my biggest problem with, and I'll even throw like the last night. Well, like when comparing like the Wahlberg duology, or whatever you want to call it, to the
We're not the Wallology. Okay. Great.
Yeah, it's weird that it's weird criticizing something in a Transformers movie but praising it in another. But the politics in Age of Extinction and Dark of the Moon, and Age of Extinction and The Last Night, compared to like the politics of Transformers and Revenge of the Fallen and Dark of the Moon. Like Dark of the Moon opens with this whole bullshit on like why Americans went to the moon, and like it genuinely is like intriguing. Like,
oh, we didn't even mention that, like the whole conspiracy theory, like Buzz Aldrin.
Yeah,
cool.
Like
That's
that shit was like genuinely intriguing.
Yeah.
Where they were like only 34 people knew the like true intent of going to the moon.
Yeah.
Whereas like you introduce like, and I'll bring back Alex again because he writes a lot about these movies. He talks about Age of Extinction being like this like really like awesome like follow up to Dark of the Moon, where people are still like adapting to the new world that they're living in.
Yeah.
Whereas like at the beginning of Dark of the Moon, I think they do it better than they do in Age of Extinction, because Dark of the Moon, Megatron basically, Optimus Prime basically explains like, we now work with the humans. Like this is our like post Transformers world. Like we've solved our problems. We're working with the humans. We've established these, city whatever things that are going to sweep the city looking for Decepticons. And Age of Extinction, one, I didn't care for like the familial chaos between like Mark Wahlberg and his daughter and their like financial situation. I don't care for I want to get his name right. I forgot his name. The bad guy, like not Chelsea Grammer.
Where is he?
Lockdown.
I don't know what his name is.
Who are you talking about?
The secret, the agent with the glasses.
Simmons.
Just
Sully
like the most stereotypical. Yes, Titus Welliver. Yes, he claims James Savoy.
I remember now.
Like I just don't care for him the way I cared for like the agents in Dark of the Moon and Transformers. I don't care for the politics. I don't care for like the conspiracy theories around Transformers the way I do within like the LaBeouffagy. I think it just kind of takes. Yeah, the LaBeouffagy will make me laugh every time I say it.
Casually,
But yeah, everything in Age of Extinction and Last Night, I think, are everything within the LaBeouffagy, just with less intrigue. And I don't know if it's because at that point in this franchise, I'm just like, I'm dialed out. Like no more, no more origin stories, no more Shia LaBeouf. It's just like it tuned out. But I just found myself just like less intrigued with the world they built in Age of Extinction and Last Night compared to like even Dark of the Moon.
I think you're right. I think it's equally as politically charged, but it doesn't do it quite as well. And also, I think in Age of Extinction, like I didn't hate it, I give it 2.5, but there's not as much to attach yourself to in the early period before we get to that showdown. Whereas in like Dark of the Moon, for example, I think there's plenty to follow within Sam Witwicky's journey. And I think also you've got the conspiracy theory scenario and you've got so much in there. Whereas Age of Extinction, I think Alex is right. I think it does a good job of showing sort of post economically, post-war, whatever, and then going into the next phase and dealing with that. But I just don't think it does it quite as well and with quite as much interest as like Dark of the Moon. And again, like just to go back to it, I also think this one just feels too long. Like I think this one is really, really dragged on at a certain point, which is weird because it's not actually.
It is, but I think I really like Dark of the Moon and Revenge of the Fall. Like, or I guess I don't really like Revenge of the Fall. They're all. I simply think they're all just too long. Even the first is a little too long. I think in the sense that it just spends so much time of saying. I don't know. It's just so much jibber jabbering.
It just don't feel like this one felt long. Like I'm sat there. I'm like.
I think Age of Extinction. No, The Last Night feels really.
Well, I haven't seen The Last Night. I haven't seen that. I didn't watch that one. I want to watch that one though because there's a sword in it, and that kind of intrigues me. You know?
Yeah, that's like the new like MacGuffin of the film is the sword of leadership.
Last one has a 1.9. That is kind of wild.
Yeah, the last one
too high, honestly.
Will I not like the last one? Last Night, do you reckon, Cameron?
I mean, it's
horrible, man. It's
I didn't like Age of
Extinction. There is in The Last Night, there is a suicide-esque like scene of all the Transformers getting like they make a deal with Megatron, who looks entirely different now, by the way. They make a deal with Megatron into releasing like 6 Decepticons, and there's like a Suicide Squad type scene, and Mohawk is just like, and then like they have like Nitro Zeus who's like, yeah, I fucked your wife.
The cast is really good for this one, isn't it?
Yeah, I had sex with your wife or something like that, and then they have like a berserker who's like chained up, and they're like, whoa, we can't let him out because, and they just it's like truly an atrocious nonsense mess of a movie. And I put in my review like the flirting versus harassment meme, like Michael Bay's like misogynistic racism that is in almost all of these movies, like that, like it's just, you know, I'm not saying you look nonsense. I'm not saying you look past necessarily because it's clearly there, and the whole time I'm like, all right, that's much. In this, it's just become harassment, and it's just a mess of nonsense. And they got Anthony Hopkins.
You should tweet.
It was my review.
Yeah, you should tweet it. That's a good tweet.
Okay. But you have Anthony Hopkins spewing just shit about. Sorry, I'm trying not to swear. Spewing just random crap.
Your child is right there.
I know. I'm trying not to. Random crap about just like old Decepticons coming to Earth and like the Last Nights, and then he gets blown up by Megatron just like out of nowhere. It's just it's all, and all these movies are nonsense, but it's not funny, it's not creative, it's just more of the same. And in The Last Night, they try to bring Cybertron to Earth to kill Unicron, but in Dark of the Moon, they already tried to bring Cybertron to Earth to transport like the Earth to the planet or something, which I don't even know how that would work. They're like, we're not bringing you. You can't ship 7 billion people, and it's like, we're not shipping them. We're bringing.
I love in Dark of the Moon. I think this is the funniest thing ever. Where at one point, Sentinel, I think, he's explaining something to someone about Cybertron and the pillars, and none of it makes sense, like logically. So they throw in the line, and Sentinel says, like, everything about our world defies your laws of physics. And I'm like, that's the funniest way to just completely move past the fact that none of this makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like none of this movie logically makes sense. So we're just going to throw in this little line that you can't argue because it's a fake fucking planet with fake physics. So it's like, fuck that.
Yeah. And in Dark of the Moon, it is established heavily that they need ships to like travel to and from the moon and to and from Earth. And like I mentioned, Transformers 2007, they just fly to Earth, like no issues. Transformers Age of Extinction, Optimus flies out of the planet. That would have helped a million times over. He claims through the entire Dark of the Moon movie, he needs his flight. I need my flight tech. He's saying like half the time, like, I need that trailer. And he just simply doesn't to fly. Like he doesn't need any flight tech to fly because he flies away in Age of Extinction. Sorry, bud. Yeah, it's just like I said, man, it's just, there's so much messed up about these movies, and I can't look past any of it, but I can say, yeah, that made me laugh, and that's stupid. So maybe I just need to lower all of my Transformers.
Do you know who I did like in
Scores.
Dark of the Moon? First mentioned as well. John Malkovich. I always like John Malkovich. He should.
He was
It
really
is
good
a
at that.
visual and therefore a visceral betrayal. It's an all-time quote.
We didn't even mention what's our opinions on the Megan Fox leaving. Did it think it
She
got
didn't
worse?
leave. She got fired. She
Did she get fired?
Yeah, she in
I
a
don't know
GQ article or something, she claimed that working for Michael Bay was like working with Hitler on set.
Jesus
Which
Christ. Doesn't surprise me that much.
I fully believe that she is
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
telling the truth about that.
The perfect
so,
comment
yeah,
really
he got
get fired when you're shit talking the director, and Steven Spielberg, director of Schindler's List, is the executive producer. So that's just like the
Was he the? Oh, he
one
is the
comment,
producer, wasn't he?
take out both of them.
Yeah.
They're fired immediately.
That's all time.
But I
Get
love
outta
how
here.
when they reveal Rosie Huntington Whiteley is like it's like a reverse MCU cameo where it's like she walks in the room and he's like, "Hey, babe," and then it like turns the camera around. It's like, "Oh shit, it's not Megan Fox." Like, it's like,
Yeah.
Damn, it's
Yeah.
not her. Which
I
I'm
like,
sure the
I
I
trailers
expected it at
wasn't
first because I didn't know that she wasn't
Right.
in.
I appreciate that Michael Bay took the opportunity to take like the entire crux of the relationship in Revenge of the Fallen is like they refuse to say I love you to each other and just do it again when he gets a new girl in his movies. He's like, we're just gonna make
He's a
them
scarred
refuse
man.
to say I love you to each other until the very end. And then also like they say I love you and B at the very end of the movie like pours out wedding rings and she's like, "Oh, rings." And he's like, you're moving way too fast. And it's like, you guys were just through an entire like alien sentient race and
Yeah,
you
emotions
told her
are
you wanna
high.
spend your entire life with her. And like, let's make a decision, Sam. Like, let's not be so on our toes, man. It's not that hard.
But yeah, he like
Ah.
cheats on Megan Fox in the second one, tries to gaslight her, and it
I
wasn't
don't know
his
if
fault.
that's true.
To be fair,
He gets assaulted by
Oh,
an
they're
alien
kissing way
robot.
before that.
Yeah,
she transforms.
they're
Yeah, no, I agree. He
that
does.
is
Like
for sure.
he didn't
cheating.
move quick.
He
Let's be
100%
fair.
was
he
in
did
the
not
wrong.
He
move
did
quick.
cheat,
Don't
like-
get me wrong.
Yeah.
He's sitting there spewing his same nonsense he always is.
She was all over him, and they were kissing before she.
But
ever
he didn't move
transformed.
out the way like quickly,
Yeah.
did he? Let's be
No,
fair.
no,
He
he
was
was-
dead.
He was enjoying every minute of that.
Yeah,
I'm convinced he would have stuck around even when she did transform. Honestly, he looked a little too into it for a hot
he
sec.
was.
Yeah, there was a look in his eye when she first started choking him, where he's like, "This might be okay. This might be something I'm into." We've kind of been talking about the Wahlberg ones as well. So
I want to note that in the Wahlberg ones, the crux of the last movie, and this is why it frustrates me, and just like every movie is like a main point of the movie causes some continuity error, but a main point of the last movie is that Bumblebee speaks, and that's what turns Optimus Prime back, or he was what Prime is he? He's like Devastator Prime or something in the last movie because Quintessa turns him. Haley, 1 second, bud. And in the last movie, he gets turned back to Optimus Prime and turned back good because he says, "B, I haven't heard that voice since Cybertron." Not true. You heard it in the very first movie because B speaks at the end of the first movie. You stupid.
Do you
idiot
make notes of
franchise.
this, Cam? Are you still doing your notes?
No notes. This is off
Just
the
memory.
dome. This is off the cuff.
Respect it.
And I'm not like the first person to make these. Okay, bud. I'm not like the first person to make note of this in any way. Like this is like just a something I've heard or something I've seen probably, but it's just stupid and it's dumb and it doesn't work and it frustrates me like crazy. And now we have Stanley Tucci, who was in the last movie as some tech billionaire, is now Merlin in the flashbacks. And so Michael Bay just said, "Run it back, Stanley. We're not recasting any roles. We're just getting the same cast back." And it's frustrating and dumb. And in the last one, Isabella Merced is good again. She's awesome. I like Isabella Merced. But in this, she plays
Is she
a girl
Alien
named,
Romulus?
yes.
Yes.
In this, she plays a girl named Isabella, but with a Z. She makes note that it's a Z. So
Isabella.
same name, just
Isabella.
a Z instead of an S. So yeah,
Nice.
fantastic for her. There's just a million other things. They gave I don't know, guys. I could go on forever, but this entire franchise is so cooked in the
I didn't
brain.
get a chance, guys, to watch Bumblebee. I haven't seen that one. I've heard good things about Bumblebee.
I
Bumblebee's
thought
good.
Cam
I watched-
really liked it for some reason.
I
but
did
found
really like it, and I still like it. I used to have it as like my third. I watched it last night. I used to have it as like my third highest rated Transform. No, maybe second highest rated, like right after the first. I only watched it the one time when it came out, and it was really good, and it has a lot of good emotion. And the opening scene of it is like is the best part of any Transformers movie. They're on Cybertron and they're having a fight. And that's the best part of any Transformers movie. But then like the rest of the movie just kind of becomes, it's like there's no heart in it. It becomes like almost like a formula. Within
it's just it's the most like generic like attempted origin story you could have ever.
It's not
imagined.
relating to.
It is. No, it is.
It's
related, but it's
technically like a prequel.
Technically a prequel,
okay.
but it's a fake prequel because in this movie, like B comes to Earth, like they know about Earth in Bumblebee and they know about Earth in every other movie except the first one. But in the first one, they just escape to an unknown planet known as Earth. But in this one, like B goes to Earth for a reason, and like I forget exactly why.
I didn't know the guy, the star of The Last Night, directed it. Cam.
Yeah.
To get it. Was that a good joke?
Wait, I don't know what you're talking about now. I'm confused.
He's called Knight. It was a very dad joke.
Oh, okay, that's my bad. I don't know why I agreed to you. I was just going.
I didn't understand that either.
Yeah, my bad.
His story's name is Knight.
At first I was like, wait, did Mark Wahlberg direct Bumblebee?
Mark Wahlberg directed.
I was like,
who directed Bumblebee?
It was Travis Knight. That was literally the joke. That's what I called
good one. Good one. I like it.
It's got a high average, like one of the highest averages out of my friends compared to like the rest of them. To be fair.
And I think my friends really like it, and I thought like Cam really liked it too. But I haven't rewatched it, to be fair. It's been 2 years, but I really like when I watched the first time. I think I give it a 2.5 out of 3. But I was missing what I felt like everyone else was seeing. I watched
missing
it,
the bay, maybe.
I really didn't like the visuals of it too.
I moved it down
completely
to 3. It more animates the Transformers to try to make them more like what they looked like in the original TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
All right, bud.
But it's just kind of a jump scare when you go directly from the Bay movies. To
and so it looks a lot like less. It looks a lot less realistic. It looks more animated. But like I said, the opening scene is like the best part of any Transformers movie. Like they're fighting on Cybertron and they're escaping, and that's really good. But it doesn't have any of the like sound design. It doesn't have the score of the bays. It's not as funny. Shout out Haley Steinfeld. She's fantastic in everything. But that's my same issue with like whenever I think I'm going to rewatch the Transformers, like this is the last one on my mind or second to last one on my mind. And I understand it's not a pure like Transformers movie, but it's still in the franchise. It's just kind of in my opinion, but
it's the most generic. It's the most generic, which is not necessarily like a bad thing. I think like if you look at this franchise as a whole, now maybe with Transformers 1, but Bumblebee was probably the most like accessible, just the most like sit down. You're not overwhelmed with like Michael Bay's like color grading and like these ambitious like set pieces. It's just like the most like it's like the calmest Transformers watch you could ever imagine.
Which is what I'm not looking for though.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I want base shit.
Exactly. Like for us, like we don't. That's not. It's this. And this was, I think Tyler just said, this was the first Transformers movie to come out after the 5 Bay movie. So it was just such like a crazy tonal shift that I don't think worked for everyone. But I still
think
rate
this franchise needed it. This franchise needed some continuity.
It needed like this safe like addition to the franchise, just because of how crazy like Age of Extinction and The Last Night got shit on by audience and critics. It just needed this like very like, we're not taking any risks. We're not doing anything like outlandish. We're just giving you a very straightforward, here's Bumblebee, here's his origin story. We're going to introduce you to Haley Steinfeld. She has enough screen presence, enough charisma to carry a film. The emotional beats between her and Bumblebee will hit you slightly, and that'll be enough to like satisfy audiences and critics across the board. But it's not going to be the most well-regarded movie. It will certainly not be the most shit on Transformers movie. It's just kind of like, it's there. It's not taking any risks. It's so safe, and that either works for you or it doesn't. And for me, it's like right down the middle. And I think a big part of it is just Haley Steinfeld and Bumblebee. I think their dynamic like genuinely works really well.
Something I forgot to mention in the Bayverse is that Dark of the Moon is like the Battle of Chicago. Everything's destroyed. 5 years later is Age of Extinction. They go back to Chicago and everything's perfectly fine and chilling. And then we have whatever time jump to The Last Night, and Chicago's kind of like a wasteland that's been destroyed. And so again, continuity is an issue, and it really upsets me in these franchise, and it's just something on my mind. But that's all I was going to say.
Anything else on Bumblebee, or do we want to jump to our rankings?
Rise of the Beast is shit, by the way.
Yeah, wait,
Looking
what
back
about
on it.
Rise of the
Rise of the
Beast?
Beast has lost some sauce for me.
But now
but
I've
again,
watched them. I Rise of the Beast put a
rewatched it,
bad taste in my
lost it.
mouth about what Bays would be like potentially, because I'd only seen the first Bay one, and I just looked at the average rating. I was like, oh, I'll probably not watch them. Now I've watched the other Bay ones. Rise of the Beast like goes further down in my mind. That movie had zero source at all for a Transformers film. Like
I was a
at all.
day one half-star guy on Rise.
I
of
mean,
the
I
Beast,
was a
man.
1.5, but I've lowered it to a 1 because it doesn't deserve a 1.5. It
I
just
was a
felt
day
so
one hater.
uninspired visually.
I take
So
Rise of the Beast over Age of Extinction and The
Nope.
Last Night.
I even before I'm
Yeah,
starting to
Ace is
reappraise
terrible.
the Bay movies and raise them in my rankings other than the first one. Even before that, I always had Rise of the Beast as the most dog water ass.
It's so
bottom of the barrel.
boring. Like it's
You know what I love? There's one moment in Rise of the Beast that I absolutely fucking love. Bumblebee dies, and it's the most like we know he's coming back. So when he does come back, like they're in the middle of that final battle, and the music starts getting louder and louder, and you're like, okay, obviously like Bumblebee's about to pull up. They're not killing off. Like when he dies, it was the most.
That's
like,
the same shit in Revenge of the Fallen, though.
Yeah,
Optimus
exactly.
dies, it's the same shit.
But
Sorry.
when it happens in Rise of the Beast, it's like the most uninspired death. And they're like, if you're killing Bumblebee, that's not how you do it. Like, if you kill Bumblebee, you are making it the most emotional thing you could possibly imagine. And then he comes back, and it's like, oh, there he is. No shit, he's coming back. Not the worst Transformers movie.
We did review
It's
this
not.
one
It's-
at
The
length.
Last Night is
Yeah, we
way
did.
worse. Way, way worse. And Age of
Yeah.
Extinction is close, but at least Age of Extinction has like the. I don't even know if it does have the cool Transformers.
I didn't even realize that was on the screen.
I just put it up. It's
Oh,
Cam's,
right.
Cam's out of
I
control
remember.
this episode. I had to
need
keep
Bailey
check.
not around during these, so I don't have to yell.
That's funny.
But
Do you want to do our rankings then?
yeah, because and I just want to
ratings
mention
as well.
so Rise of the Beast. We did do a full episode on it. Probably I don't know when did it come out? Like about a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
So
while
you can go
ago.
check that out if you want a full
Yeah.
review and breakdown of it there. I will mention kind of works well. The news came out this week, which it wasn't really news because we all knew this from just watching the movie. But the next live action Transformers movie will be a Transformers G.I. Joe crossover movie.
Yeah.
News confirming basically what they literally show us at the very end, and the end credit scene literally sets up in Rise of the Beast. So it's kind of like the Mindhunter David Fincher news where I just saw another tweet where it was like Mindhunter confirmed to not come back for season 3. I'm like, hasn't it been confirmed 7 times already? It's like we already knew this was gonna happen. But let's go through our franchise rankings. Start with Cam.
Oh God. So my rankings are as follows. In last place, I have The Last Night, a 5 out of 100. I think it's like one of the worst movies of all time. I don't know like what's different about it, but I like hate watch it. Then I have Rise of the Beasts at a 32 out of 100. Then Age of Extinction at a 35 out of 100. And then I have a big jump up from there is Bumblebee is a Show My Activity. Give me a sec. Oh, sorry. No, Revenge of the Fallen is next. My mistake. At a 52 out of 100. And then Bumblebee at a 60, I believe, out of 100. So like a 3-star straight down the middle. Transformers 1, which we just talked, is 75 out of 100. Dark of the Moon is 77. And then Transformers 2007 is a 90 out of 100, 4.5 out of 5. I think it's without it the best one. And never forget Shia LaBeouf and Megan Fox are making out on the hood of Bumblebee in this one. And it's not a car. It's like an autonomous being. And so like imagine if like me and Emma were making out just laying on one of you. That's how you and all the other Transformers are just watching.
Oh
They're
my
like,
God.
Oh
they're
man.
autonomous beings.
That
And
is an
Michael Bay
image.
doesn't understand anything.
That is an
He's a
image.
coach. Michael Bay has so much brain rot, it's lost.
Michael Brain.
Michael
Brain.
Seth, what's your ranking? I know you haven't rewatched a couple. I haven't either, but I can.
I haven't
throw together a
seen.
ranking.
I haven't seen Bumblebee or The Last Night. In last place, I got Rise of the Beast at a 1 star. Next, I have Age of Extinction at a 2.5. Next, I have Revenge of the Fallen at a 3.5. Then I have Transformers at a 4, and then Dark of the Moon at a 4 at number 1. So Dark of the Moon,
Nice.
same rating, both great. Just pips it for me.
Yep, I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all. George.
I got The Last Night at a 1 star at number 8. I have Age of Extinction at a 1.5 star at number 7. I have Rise of the Beasts at 6 at a 2 star. I have Revenge of the Fallen at a 2.5 star at 5. I have Bumblebee at a 3.5 star at 4. I have Transformers 1 at a 3.5 star at 3. I have Dark of the Moon at 2 at a 4 star. And I have the first Transformers movie, Michael Bay's masterpiece, at a 5 star at number 1.
I don't have all my ratings pulled up, but I'll just guess what they are. I know what the ranking is, but the ratings: Transformers Rise of the Beast, last place at a 0.5 star. Then we have Transformers The Last Night at either a 0.5 or a 1 star. Transformers Age of Extinction, I believe, at a 1.5 star. Then I have Bumblebee at a 2.5. Revenge of the Fallen at a 2.5. Dark of the Moon at a 4, and Transformers at a 4.5.
Nice.
So the LaBeouffagy reigns supreme for me. But yeah, that's our Transformers walkthrough and run through. I'm sure we'll be covering the Transformers G.I. Joe crossover when it comes out. It's going to be ass. Anthony Ramos is the most sauceless actor in Hollywood when he's not on stage singing Hamilton.
I mean, you're right, but it's so mean.
I mean, yeah.
But you are right, just to establish that.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I mean,
just
great in Hamilton, though. So maybe you go back to the stage because you're great there.
If you're listening. By the way.
Also, kind of funny that like Transformers Rise of the Beast, like the new car for it was like a Porsche. And I feel like that just was not a smart move by Porsche because the Chevy Camaro like was everywhere on streets when this came out. Because that's like, they're not expensive. They're like, I mean, everything's relative, but they're like cheap luxury cars, like they're like at the time, like 25, 30 grand. Whereas like Porsches, you're close to like 6 figures. So I feel like they missed the ball putting so much money into sponsoring Rise of the Beast because Camaro is perfect because you watch this is like a working man's movie. This is like every dad's type of movie. So you want to get the Camaro. It's not that expensive. It's like cheaper than like a pickup truck. So you can go get this Camaro, look beefy and look awesome. Whereas like now it's like a Porsche. It's like, I don't see a lot of those Porsches driving around from Transformers Rise of the Beast. But the Chevy Camaro, how iconic. The yellow, the black stripes, so sick. But now we'll get into substance. Cam's not here, but Cam did not see the substance. I don't think he would be a big substance head anyways. He would be substouts instead of substance. Let's get into this. So all three of us have seen it. If you follow the instructions, what could go wrong? A fading celebrity decides to use a black market drug, a cell replicating substance that temporarily creates a younger, better version of herself. Directed by Coralie Fargay, starring Demi Moore, Margaret Qualley, Dennis Quaid. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into this thing. So we
want to start with the lowest or the highest?
I actually haven't seen you. I know I've seen only Seth's review, but I'm assuming based on George's quote tweet of just okay. I'm guessing George was the lowest.
No, George gave it a 5. That's what I'm saying. Do you want to start with me, George?
Wait,
George 5 bombed this shit. He was so in.
Let's see. I haven't.
Maybe a 5 out of 100.
So George every day becoming more like Doug, K Meeks, and Owen. All 4 of you rocking a 2-star on this thing.
All 4 of us, and I was first, so they're really trying to be like Big Bro right
now. What are your thoughts on the substance?
This, and I'm sorry to anyone listening that is expecting like a challengers feud between like me and Seth. It's not going to happen. I came out
the cinema saying, I even text you, George, actually, and you were like, I'm going to see the substance. I was like 1.5 or 4.5.
Yeah, you said 1.5 or 4, so you were not that far
off. I know
off.
people are going to hate this.
This is not a movie I'm going to like absolutely shit on. It's just not a movie I think necessarily works well for me and I guess what I look for in body horror. And it's a shame because like you go into a movie like this, a movie that's tackling like something that can be very heavy, like the aging female body and this desire for youth. And it's like, I watched this movie and out of the movie, my first like immediate thought was I'm really not in the mood to get like shit on for like hating a movie that like deals with such a heavy topic. But unfortunately, that's just how I felt. I think the movie, and like I said in my Letterboxd review, I think the movie introduces some very important ideas, some important ideas that I think should have carried more weight. And you have Demi Moore giving such an incredible performance. I'm not the first to say this, and I won't be the last to say this. It's a very brave performance. It's definitely a performance that has stuck with me for a while. Unfortunately, the rest of the movie kind of just went in one ear and out the other. For someone who doesn't necessarily love body horror to begin with, I don't think the body horror itself just wasn't enough to keep me drawn in, because I don't think this movie's narrative or its themes are touched on past the surface. The commentary is introduced, the themes are introduced, Seth, you mentioned it in your review. This movie does not shy away from subtlety, which I actually respect. It's actually what kind of holds this rating up to a 2-star. Otherwise, unfortunately, I think it could be a bit lower. But it does not shy away from the subtlety. And I think you have such.
Do you mean it does shy away from subtlety?
I mean, it
does.
It's not a subtle movie.
Yeah, it does shy away from subtlety because it's not.
It does shy away. My bad. It is not a subtle movie. Sorry, my words are. I'm getting myself confused now. But when you have like such graphic moments, when you have a movie that's tackling something this like thematically rich through the lens of body horror, I think I just expected it to like leave me with like a significantly heavier impression, I guess. You look at other horror movies from this year, Long Legs, The First Omen. I haven't stopped thinking about these movies for quite some time. The day after I watched The Substance, I was like, I like the body horror just didn't do it for me. I think, and this comment might bother some people. I think body horror is no better, I guess, than jump scare horror. It's very like it's an in the moment reaction, which like I don't like jump scare horror, but I'm not gonna lie here and say it doesn't work on me. Like in the moment, I get scared. Same thing with body horror. In the moment watching this movie, I was grossed out. I was uncomfortable. There were moments where I wanted to look away. But that's not the kind of horror that like sits with me and like really lasts and just like hangs over my head for a while. After I watched Long Legs, I like couldn't sleep because I thought Nicolas Cage was like watching me through my window or something. Whereas like after The Substance, I slept peacefully. Like I just everything kind of just went in one ear and out the other. But yeah, I unfortunately, I just think this movie's really shallow. I don't think it moves past the first 20 minutes as well as it wanted to. It rehashes the same things over and over again. There's this desire for youth. There's this desire to be loved. And it just continues to just like rehash the body horror of it, where like Demi Moore's character is just getting progressively like more disgusting and more disgusting, while Margaret Qualley's character just has this like she doesn't care about like the 7-day rule because she's just so infatuated by the love she's getting, and this movie just kind of beats that over and over again. And after a while, the shock just felt like it was there for the sake of shock, because I don't think the body horror really added anything to the commentary and to these like very heavy themes that this film wants to tackle. And then there was also, and I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. I think this movie's funny. Like, I think it has its moments where it's very funny. The intent is to laugh. I don't know if it worked. I don't think I was necessarily on board, because one moment you're really feeling the weight of like Demi Moore's character, right? Like you really feel what she's going through. It's like a very like personal impression. And then the next moment, I feel like I'm uncomfortably laughing at the expense of the characters. So I think Sydney said this in her Letterboxd review. And if it's not Sydney, I apologize to whoever said this, but there were moments where the female body felt like it was being used as a punching bag. And then there was moments where the female body felt like it was being used because the filmmaker, the director, sorry, the name is slipping my mind, but she wanted to convey these very rich and deep themes. So there was like that weird, like back and forth tonal shift between like awkwardly laughing at something that should be funny, but it's at the expense of the characters. And then, you know, moments where you truly feel the weight of this situation. So I don't know. I think this movie was a bit all over the place. I'm not going to lie and tell you the horror didn't work for me, because in the moment I was grossed out. I was uncomfortable. Like I said at the beginning of this episode, I loved watching like everyone react to this film. But as someone who just doesn't love body horror, like I never have, I don't think I ever will, unfortunately. I need a movie with more substance to keep me like locked in. Yeah, sorry. I had to make that dad joke. And I turn to and Seth, this is why I want you to watch Ginger Snaps, because obviously very differently thematically, but they both deal with like a changing female body. And I think Ginger Snaps just has so much more like narrative intrigue that kept me locked in. And then I even turned to David Cronenberg's Videodrome, which obviously has nothing to do with the female body, but that's an example of body horror.
Yeah.
That I don't particularly love the body horror, but the story I'm being gifted and the narrative I'm watching unfold is just so intriguing that I just can't help but enjoy my time with it. Whereas in The Substance, I just feel like there was so much lacking. It just felt paper thin a little bit narratively. And again, as someone who just doesn't love body horror, the horror itself doesn't necessarily save the movie for me.
Seth is the highest on it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to argue with too many sentiments. I think that when I came out of this film, I said I actually compared it to one film, not in terms of a film, so to speak, but in terms of how it presents itself. I don't think George has seen it. Tyler, you watched Triangle of Sadness in 2022, didn't you?
Yep.
In that, I think Triangle of Sadness is, again, nothing that to be compared in terms of the actual film, but in terms of the fact it's kind of like a 2.5 hour provocation of, again, like shallow commentary. I know it can get tiresome. People saying this film, doesn't approach female self-perception with any subtlety anywhere. I think I mentioned in my review, and I think it is a powerhouse. It is just a confrontation throughout. I know it can get tiring. That's why I compare it to like something like a Triangle of Sadness, where if you don't like that sort of style, where it really doesn't have much more than the surface, maybe moments, but I think for me, that message works much stronger in a way where it is like that, and it is kind of more deranged from start to finish, and it kind of deals with beauty norms in such a way which I haven't personally seen handled. I think that it's tough also to comment on from a perspective, well, obviously for me, from a perspective of how a woman would feel about this in terms of like you said, like Sydney said, utilizing it in a way where looking at it from a female perspective, it's also tough for me to do that, obviously. And I think that it's also hard to look at it in terms of this commentary as more than a shallow look at self-perception as someone who is aging and wanting their youth, but also going through these kind of body transformations and kind of having that constant cycle. And the whole thing is a cycle. The whole thing's a cycle. It's week on week. It's one moment you feel great, one the next you don't, and really craving for what you used to have. And I think there's a really interesting use of food in this as well, in terms of that, especially within the middling scenes, especially when Demi Moore's character, she, if you haven't seen, Tyler, can you put the spoiler thing up? These are like light spoilers, but just in case. So obviously, in this, they're using substance, but Margaret Qualley doesn't want to get out of that. And then obviously every time she's doing it, she's been told from the start that she has to use it every week and has to switch. Margaret Qualley isn't switching her character. So what's happening is that Demi Moore's character is slowly kind of, getting older and deteriorating. Yeah. And obviously at the end, we see like that in the most explosive fashion, which I said at coming out of the cinema, I said that people will either love that or hate it. And I think it works in a way that really showcases that in the most extreme extent. And when Demi Moore is kind of utilizing the food, and we see that from the start with the scene with Dennis Quaid's character, for example, when they're sat across from each other, and Dennis Quaid's basically saying, I really like the kind of fisheye lens as well. I like that perspective. I think it's cool. Mm-hmm. And when Dennis Quaid's like saying, age, I think it's like 50 is the turning point or whatever. And he goes on that, and it's like the close-ups of him eating, which funny enough, she used, actually, I don't know if you guys have seen her of a film, Revenge. She used that quite a lot in Revenge as well, in terms of kind of that, patriarchal sense, a close-up of men eating in front of women, that kind of uncomfortable nature of it all. And I think the use of food is really, really interesting, especially when it comes to female body standards, because that is a massive, massive thing in beauty norms, especially around this time as well. I really like the use of it around this time. Kind of the classic, what they call the TV shows that used to like the dancing, the aerobics, that sort of thing. Because especially stylistically, I can't remember who mentioned this. Like, again, obviously, there's very much there's Lost Highway references in this, but I don't know if you guys caught that with the
so funny enough,
someone
I was reading a couple of reviews, like light reviews before I watched the movie, just because I wanted to know what I was getting into. And a lot of people said, like, obviously the comparisons to Cronenberg and like the body horror, but a lot of people also mentioned like David Lynch. And as I was watching the movie, I was like, and maybe my Lynch bag just isn't like that deep, but I just like didn't see like that Lynchian like environment that I think everyone else is looking at for some reason.
I think it's more like reference points. Again, there are like some subtle references, and I think the way it handles kind of the, I guess, what's the word, like duality between the two, and that kind of transforms like when they initially do the transformation, obviously you're very Cronenberg-esque, and as her, her mind, Demi Moore's mind starts to deteriorate and jealous of Margaret Qualley's character, as you could see it in that way. I think, I actually think, shout out Sydney again, I think I'm a reference here because when I came out, I was with Eki, and we spoke about this, and we mentioned Kubrick as well, in a way that it's kind of this, what did I say in my review? On the outside, yeah. So like on the outside, it's very much kind of sparkly and very, it's very sparkly. And then in the inside, when it's like Demi Moore's character on the outside, and then inside it's very kind of deranged and really goes into that setting. And then as soon as it steps outside, especially when it comes to Margaret Qualley's character, in a way that how women should be perceived in the body image, and obviously you've got all the close-ups of Margaret Qualley's character and stuff like that, and it really, really drives into it. But I do think the revolting moments for me are something I really enjoy. Like I think I said this in my review that seeing it in a packed screen really heightened my viewing experience, just looking around at people and stuff. And there were moments that actually got me uncomfortable, which is a rarity because of just how much shit I've watched that's weird, whatever. And I think those revolting moments like propelled it from being this kind of standard thing to really something that explores more, and I really appreciate that. And I liked the explosive finale and that kind of grotesqueness, and it really came to a full like, powerful front, which again is so on the nose, but it wants been. And again, I loved one of my favorite things about this film, so spoilers one, how it opens up with a Hollywood star and then closes with it as well. I really like that. I really like that parallel between the two. But I do think it's surface level, and yes, I think it's intentional, but I also think, again, echoing what I said about Triangle of Sadness, I think it's like that, whereas it'll work for you, it won't, because it's very in your face. Like, it doesn't even try and approach it with any subtlety, which again I think is a message that will get boring after a while, but I do think it needs to be said. But yeah, it really worked for me. I really liked it. It's definitely one of my favorites of the year so far. But yeah.
What were your thoughts? Oh, sorry, Tyler. I realized you didn't give your thoughts yet. My bad.
I don't know if you guys saw my Instagram story, but we went for sushi right before watching this movie, and I know it's gonna be like a body horror type of movie where it's like gonna be hard to stomach after eating food, but like sushi, like after seeing the first opening scene with like the shrimp, it's like kind of like the worst thing to eat right before getting, like, we were stuffed and went right to the theater, and immediately the shrimp, I was like, ooh, not the greatest.
So, in her other film, that exact scene, but it's with like chocolate, and it's even more disgusting. Like a proper like caramel chocolate bar. It's horrible. Like she does it in the other ones as well. I imagine that'll be like her thing going forward, So next film she releases, Tyler.
Yeah, one of these. We got chocolate, we got shrimp. Pasta is my putting in
like some cheesy tomato pasta or something. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so that was hard to walk into, but the body horror didn't bother me too much. I don't know. I mean, being such a Cronenberg stan, it's like nothing really is going to affect me body horror wise when you're a big fan of the master himself. But I get what George is saying, where they like kind of uses jump scares, where it's like, I think the body horror of like the transformations and like the Margaret Qualley coming out, I wouldn't say are like cheap jump scary ways, but like I think when you use like the examples and spoilers are on, like when Margaret Qualley like unzips her like Catwoman like tight leather suit and like the body parts fall out, like it's like that might be what I could see George is going for, where it's like, oh, they're just using body horror as like a quick little jump like gimmick. But no, I thought this movie was grotesque. I thought the visuals of the body horror was done super well, like just a disgusting movie. But yeah, I think the shrimp eating, like someone tweeted it out too, and I agree 100%. I think the shrimp eating was like the grossest part for me, because the sound design, the crunches. I know people were talking about like movie for sure. People are saying movies never had a movie get Oscar nominated, and if this one does, I think sound design could be up there, because I think the sound design throughout this movie was so great. So visual and how just grotesque everything sounded. But I thought Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley were both fantastic. Demi Moore specifically, I thought, was just doing some incredible work. We have the spoiler tag on, but like the scene of her getting ready for that date with the guy they reconnect with, where she's like wiping off the makeup, putting it back on, wiping it off. Such a heartbreaking, devastating scene.
That's
probably my favorite scene of the movie. But this movie is so Black Mirror coded, which if you're a fan of Black Mirror, that'll get, like I said in my review, if you're a fan of Black Mirror, that'll get you out to go to the theater and want to watch it if you're in for a gross episode of Black Mirror. If you're not a fan of Black Mirror, it's the same reason you're not going to be a fan of this movie, which is why I kind of like think a lot of the reasons that I think like Doug and Owen and K Meeks talked about, that it's very surface level, but so much of the energy is so Black Mirror with the whole call a mysterious number, show up to a mysterious spot. You get a card with the number on it, and you just get thrust into this world. There's just it just reminded me of that Shut Up and Dance episode, like the cake, and it's just all such mystery. Like, who is this random mysterious person, and why am I doing these things? But it's everything in this movie. If you dig a centimeter under the surface, you could just raise a billion issues. So it's a very surface level movie, and everything doesn't make sense if you think about it a little too hard. Like, how is this substance guy making any money? Like, I don't see any credit card transactions or any money being exchanged. And shout out Marta in her review. She talked about like some of these things can be explained away by like, that's kind of the point with, for example, like how is Margaret Qualley getting a job with no identity or the same name or the same apartment? And she was kind of saying like, well, I mean, it makes sense because it's kind of what the movie's trying to say with it's a hot woman. That's all they care about. They don't care about any of your information or your name. It's just like, oh, hot woman will cast you.
Which again is shallow commentary, but it works for me, And also I just don't, those like issues, they just don't bother me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't watch film. I'm like, how is that guy making money? Like, how is that? Do you know what I mean? Just like,
but there's like a lot of stupid things.
I'm not like nitpicking this movie. Like that's not a reason I dislike. I'm not sitting here like, is no one questioning why whatever her name is, Sparkle, is like is just gone for a week? Like that's those little nitpicks are not the reason I dislike this movie.
No, I'm just saying like if you look into anything,
Yeah. Did you guys now that we're like more? I mean, this wasn't even a spoiler. Actually, this is the complete opposite of a spoiler. What were your thoughts on Dennis Quaid? And let me explain why I ask. I think he's good in the movie. I think he plays this like whatever you wanted, like media head guy, as like he's kind of just this amalgamation of like all shitty men in the media industry. My thing is like. I saw his character, and his character was named Harvey. So I thought the entire time I was watching the movie, I'm like, this is a clear take on Harvey Weinstein, just this shitty. That to
Riley right after the movie,
So my problem with the Dennis Quaid casting is if this was like just a Harvey Weinstein character, why did it have to be like this good-looking guy? Like, why did you have to cast Dennis Quaid? Like, why couldn't you cast like, I don't know, someone ugly, someone gross, throw Tom Hanks in the fat suit for Elvis and put him in this movie. Like it kind of a little bit bothered me that like this was very clearly a Harvey Weinstein character. And the whole movie is like balls to the walls, zero subtlety. Everything is gross for the sake of being gross. Like, why would you not make that character also look as gross as fuck? The grossest thing he did was the up close eating. Yeah.
Here's what I'll say about that, which could be, I think, a good counter argument as to why he's not like, just some horrible guy, whatever. Every moment in that world, in that environment, in that space is so sparkly and glittery to the point where he's like a clean-shaven office exec who's clearly, like you said, an amalgamation of misogyny, of the patriarchy. He needs to almost be this like clean-shaven guy to butter up that aesthetic and that position where no one cares because he's like that guy, if that makes sense. And I do think the Harvey Weinstein, like, I remember saying that. I don't know if that was the intention, but it kind of makes sense. I mean, felt like that.
I think at most it's just a subtle nod because Coralie Fargay is not a Hollywood director, not a deep in the machine. So I don't think she would be as. I mean, obviously, being a filmmaker and a woman, obviously, I'm sure she's very passionate about that everything atrocities that went down. But I think it's more. If it's either a coincidence or a subtle nod, I don't think she was fully like crafting this character as Harvey Weinstein.
Could just be coincidence, but
yeah, it could be for sure. But I really love, like you said, the fisheye stuff of every time you have the characters looking at like Dennis Quaid and all the old white men, just executives grubbing for money. Just was very Barbie coded of the Mattel company.
Margaret Qualley's like she started like falling apart and she's doing the rehearsal, whatever, and then no, which bit is it in where? They're like in the corridor, and she's. I don't know. Wait.
It's when she loses her teeth, and she's about to go on for the.
Yes, and she's she's when they lose her teeth,
and pretty girls smile
of just all of the creepy like guys. Like
that was well done. I like that.
So fucking disgusting, in the best way. But as you said, Tyler, that was like one thing I thought people wouldn't like. It's as George said, it's these pockets of bits that keep happening. like in the show, for example, when something like pops out, you know, all of a sudden of a body, and it's like that kind of thing. I liked that, and I like the kind of path almost to self-destruction. And obviously at the end we see the complete, you know, epitome of
Monstera
self-destruction.
Eliza
Right?
Sue.
Yeah, like crazy. Also, I know, like, again, it feels weird to laugh at some of these moments. One of the funniest scenes is
Oh, it's
when,
a
like,
one of the funniest movies I've seen this year.
she walks up with the mask on, and the guy's like, "Oh, I've been waiting ages for you," and it's like, that is the stupidest
Yeah,
shit
because it's
ever.
so obvious. Yeah.
So funny. She's walking through with this mask on. But yeah, I knew that bit would cause. It's really tough to, like. I also think I would have, if that makes sense, I would have hated. I would have liked this movie less if it was directed much less if it was directed from a male point of view, especially because we've seen that before. You know what I mean? When male people directed from, you know, female perspective, female experiences, like a Blonde, for example, you know, and that really put me off. So it's harder for me to take that into the equation, and, you know, and it's easier for me to understand many people's points of view where it could be seen as offensive in a way in terms of how it views female bodies, but it's also harder for me to comment on that. But I think the ending of just that true display of mass destruction just worked, especially when, you know, the thing like crawls over to the Hollywood star right at the end. You know, that kind of was just the film in totality for me, and it really worked. But I knew after that people would hate that. You know, that makes sense. It's hard. It's tough one.
Yeah, but I'm so surprised this movie won Best Screenplay at Cannes because it is so on the nose. I think the plot is very Black Mirror-esque. I don't think the commentary is its strong suit. I think the directing is a little better. It won Best Screenplay. That's what it won.
Was it nominated?
No, it won Best Screenplay at Cannes.
Oh shit!
And Anora won Palme d'Or. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay, I thought it was the other
So
way around.
I think everything about the screenplay is just very. I don't know. Like, I didn't dislike it, but it's very. I mean, I guess to be fair, like Triangle of Sadness won Palme d'Or, so I guess they don't shy away from, you know, very on the nose, in your face movies.
That was a good. Wow, that reference point for me was great.
Yeah, great work there. That was good. I wouldn't have made that connection without that. But yeah, because it's like this plot is just like Black Mirror episode, which they crank out like 6 a year, where it's like very obviously something they could come up with, where it's like, oh, you take a drug and all of a sudden you're a younger self, and then the spin on it's like the body horror element that Black Mirror would never be able to pull off. So just kind of surprising it won Best Screenplay. The ending for me is gonna be something that's gonna get a lot of people talking. I know Seth said you're gonna love it or you hate it. Riley and I didn't love it. The whole like end, you know, Carrie-esque bloodbath, and
I said Carrie when I left.
That's where
just
I like
much for me
out entirely.
I get it. Like I really get it. I loved it, but I really get like
this movie did not need to be. Sorry, I've been quiet. I would rather you guys go back and forth positives than me step in a lot to shit on this movie. But yeah, this movie extended its stay an insane amount. 2 hours and 20 minutes for this one did not need to happen.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I didn't mind. I didn't really feel the runtime, but that's because I love the film. But yeah, it was a long film. If I think about it from a point of view of if I hadn't seen this and you explained everything to me, I would be like, yeah, it's probably quite long for what it tries to achieve. You know.
To be fair, I thought the final scene was too long, but it was a 2 hour 20 minute movie that the first thing I started walking out, I was like, that time kind of flew by. Like I was surprised I didn't feel it. But first thing Riley and I were talking about was how funny we thought the movie was. Like this movie blends utter sadness of the date prep scene with grotesque body horror, with mystery, with rich and lavish versus demented and depraved, while also being so hilarious. Like we were like laughing throughout the whole movie. Like when her like Margaret Qualley's like boyfriend or whatever he is, like chases her into the bathroom. He's like sees the blood in there. He's like, oh, is it that time of month again? And then just the monster whatever. He's like, through the wall. And he just runs away. He's like, what the fuck? I'm like, that's so funny. And like all the exaggerated sound design of and like when she was dragging Margaret Qualley's body around, just like the head just thudding so hard. Like that's
dude, every time a head thudded, it was so fucking loud, bro.
I know.
Yeah, like, every time you just felt that bash of the head on like the tile of the bathroom or something.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought this movie did a lot of things that worked very well. It is just one of the most obvious movies of the year in terms of like, you can totally understand why someone would love this and you could totally understand why someone would hate this. Any rating anyone gives this movie, I would feel justified for someone's personal take. Like this could really run the gambit. I think there's a lot I loved. There's a lot I didn't care for. Wasn't really anything I disliked. Oh yeah. The one thing I was gonna say, another reason why I was surprised at one screenplay is this movie shows so much like it doesn't trust itself. It doesn't trust its imagery because there's moments and just subtleties that I love that then go back to and like put it in your face and make it obvious. I'm like, I wish it would have just stayed the subtle thing. Like I loved when Demi Moore got like the flowers that had the note that said like, you were perfect. I'm like, oh, it's this word that's so like devastating. And then like it zooms in on the card a second later. I'm like, oh, come on, we got it from that. And then another one was like the doctor at the beginning who like gives her the substance thing has that like birthmark on his hand. We clearly see that on the guy in the diner, but then they like zoom in on it again. I'm like, oh, just trust in your like ability just to give the subtle nods that the audience is going to be able to like pick up on those things. I feel like there was a multiple more instances where they just like told me something. I was like, I really like that. And then they just like hammered it hard again. I'm like, should have trusted the first time he showed that I was going to pick up on it.
I agree. I'm not defending here because I agree, but I think it's almost it's hard to approach subtlety when your whole kind of feature and thing is a lack of subtlety throughout the first hour. You know what I mean? Because if they started in that, it'd be like, again, it would be even harder to manage the tone. And I think that's also, again, it's why people hate it. It's really hard to manage a tone of sad. You know, it's devastating. It's sad, but it's also funny, but it's also really in your face. You know, it's going to be hard. And I think approaching subtlety at that point is like, it just would have been hard. You know, when you've had the first hour and it's like, this is the most fucking unsubtle thing ever. It's throwing everything at you. And then you kind of give these nods. It's like, that's kind of like not your thing. It's, you know, that would have been like a Switzerland, you know, like where you're like in the middle, you have to kind of commit almost. And again, I'm not defending, I'm just saying like if I was watching it from that point of view, I like how they committed to that, to the full frontal, but you know, that's not going to work for a lot of people. And I get that. Like a triangle. Yeah.
And then there's some things with like when you have homages, it's fun and great. Like the Lost Highway one you talked about. I saw a tweet that like broke down a couple of them. It was like Twin Peaks as well with the head smashing in the mirror and like seeing like the different reflection of yourself. Yeah. And then the Carrie, obviously the Blood of Then, and then The Shining was a big one. But the thing about homages, it almost like makes people who are like in on it and know it, like it kind of like this isn't something I care about, but I just basically wanted to use this as a way to say like when they kept showing that hallway, I was like so clearly it's The Shining. I was waiting for the blood to spatter all over it, which then of course happens at the end where like they pour blood through it. Because when you see that hallway, the first thing you think about is the elevator opening up and the blood going everywhere. So I was like, okay, when's like the blood going to be sprayed all over this hallway that's so clearly The Shining? So just it's fun. I think
imagine if two little twins popped out.
Two little Monstera Eliza Sues just walking down, just crazy. But
there was a lot in this one. It worked for me because I almost think that elevates my experience, especially when you've got like me and Lost Highway and like The Shining.
Yeah,
it was very much Leo moments for me. You know what I mean? But I also think it's one, again, this film is just a bunch of shit that's tough to manage. This is not a pleaser of people. This is like very much a love or hate kind of thing.
And that's one of the things I like about it the most is Coralie Farge was so unapologetic, so full force, didn't hold back. And I think that just works because this movie is not subtle at all. And I think that's a feature as opposed to a detraction of this. And I think this is clearly her full vision. And she completely put this together. Everything she wanted ended up on that screen unapologetically, unabashedly her. I haven't seen her other films, but I'm just saying like this is you could just tell there's a filmmaker who got what they wanted in every way for this movie. And I thought I applaud that at least.
Yeah, I wouldn't have expected as well because I'm keen for both of you to watch Revenge. It's not like, but there's very similar. I mean, they're both like very stylish films. Soundtrack, color scheme, some of the, like I said to you, Tyler, earlier, the close up on the shrimp. You've got the close up on the chocolate in Revenge, which is even more disgusting.
Is Revenge body horror as well?
No. There's grotesque imagery. Revenge is kind of like a play on the whole rape revenge trope, but in a really, really cool way. Like it's like subverts your expectations on the whole like rape revenge trope, like the I saw you what's it called? What's
Jennifer's
called?
Body?
Promising Young Woman.
No. What's it called? The ones I hate. I Spit on Your Grave. Like a play on those films, but like in a really, really cool manner. It's not. This isn't something I expected. This goes very much further into it. But I think, George, you'd like that much more because it's toned down in a way and not quite as in your face and stuff. But yeah, I'm interested to see what she does further than this because even if you hate her films, it's like it's going to be one of these filmmakers where it's like you just want to watch them, see what she conjures up, you know? Like a Terrifier. Great example. I hate Terrifier.
The music in this bang too. I love the.
No, stop. I was about to say techno music is the death of film, bro. We need to stop. We need to cut it out immediately, bro. Every time Margaret Qualley was strutting down the street and they had that techno music.
I love that shit.
The Social Network is a very techno-y score. If you read
True. No. No,
Yeah, it literally
no,
is. Watch the clip.
it's
I literally tweeted of it. The opening scene of the
it's
montage
not
of them
as
building.
egregious as like a
Trust me,
Challengers.
rewatch it. You'll hear it.
Stop bringing up challenges every episode. Get upsetting.
Yeah. Bro
what
hates
else we
Blade Runner scores. Bro hates all kinds of techno inspired stuff. But no, I love the score. And Seth, the funny thing, like the first thing Riley said to me too was like, while we were watching, actually, she's like, every time they showed the Pump It Up with the Margaret Qualley, the way they shot those, so Love Island coded with like the glitz, the glamour, the zoom ins of the butts, because like
it really is. Like it's like a satire on every reality like glamour show ever. Like that is Love Island for two. Like you should watch it. It's like
also, like a new woman's entering the villa. Now let's like show every crevice and inch of her body in a montage of techno music.
It's so ridiculous. Also, can I just say, like Michael Bay does like quite a lot in his films as well. You know, a lot of close-ups. I got a sleazy guy just to.
I mean, the first Transformers has like a 15-second shot of just this very attractive woman screaming while a Transformer like dives over her, which is just like the most unnecessary. Hey, here's a hot woman in that moment type of like play.
Michael Bay and Tyler, what's the name?
Coraline Fargay.
They should make a film, even though they're like the antithesis of each other. They should make a film. That'd be crazy.
Transformers, body horror Transformers, where like Sam Witwicky transforms into Bumblebee. His his body and his flesh.
It's really a film like that, to be fair. Crazy.
But yeah,
I don't think more on cover.
So 4.5 from Seth, 3.5 from me, closer to a 4 than a 3, though. I was very on the edge between that. And then George gave it a 2. And looking at my mutuals reviews, very all over the place.
Yeah, mine. What's your guys' average, friends?
Let me see.
Mine's a 3.9 right now.
Mine's a 3.6.
Ooh.
3.9, 3.6. Mine is standby.
Oh no, mine's a 3.8 now. Sorry, 3.8.
How do you see it on desktop? Is there a way to see your friends' score?
Yeah, you click. Yeah, you can. You click all friends, so you can see their reviews, and it'll say in the bottom right what that's always been a thing on desktop. Gotcha.
All friends. Oh yeah, there we go. 3.5 for me.
Wow, interesting.
But yeah, so that's our review of The Substance. A movie that'll get people talking for sure.
Let us know your thoughts.
Let us know your thoughts on The Substance, and we'll see if Mubi's able to get their first Oscar nomination for anything. Again, if anything, like I said, I'd like sound design. I think is the one that stands out the most. Just so grotesque. But I'd say if I was a betting man, which I am, I don't think it's gonna be getting any Oscar nominations. It's just too out there for Academy voters. But
Triangle of Sadness get any? Got Best Picture, didn't it?
It got Best Screenplay.
I think it got Best Picture.
It was nominated for Picture as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was nominated for Picture. But it's one of those things that like 99% of the time something's nominated for Screenplay, it'll get Picture. But yeah, Triangle of Sadness did.
Yeah.
But I think that's more people in Hollywood love acting like they're making fun of themselves being rich. Whereas like if they see themselves as studio execs, they'll be like, hey, this is a little too on the nose for me. You know, I'm not like this Barbie guy at all.
That's get offended by it when they watch it.
I eat shrimp like a gentleman. But now we're gonna do some trailers and movie news.
That guy left that table horrible, by the way. What a fucking dickhead! Like when he ate that shrimp, like as he left, it was just all over the place. No manners.
He just like good stuff. But trailers and movie news now. Most of this stuff is just gonna be me reading stuff off. But first up, the Emmys happened. Boo, no one cares. The Bear and Shogun won 1 billion awards. But yeah, again, embarrassing to even win an Emmy. So you should be ashamed. The Bear and Shogun. The first trailer for Bong Joon-ho's Mickey 17 has been released. This one we will talk about in theaters on January 31st. This feels so like
sick.
We've been podcasting for 2 years at this point because like obviously it was supposed to come out last January, and I remember us talking about it last like probably around this time, talking about Mickey 17 is coming out in a couple months. So now it just feels like timeline's all switched. But yeah, trailer looks amazing. Riley's so excited for this movie. I'm so excited for this movie. We all knew it was going to be.
Have any of you read the book?
Awesome. I have not.
George? Okay.
I have not.
Is it Andy Weir or am I crazy? I know the book's Mickey 7. No, it's Ashton.
It's a funny one, this, because a lot of tonally it's probably a little bit different to what I expected, but having heard from people who've read the book, there's a lot of weird shit that goes on in this film. As you know, but I won't say it, but yeah, hopefully they put it in. Also, it's like Bong Joon-ho, if you watch any of his films, all of his films are very kind of
okay. So people, dude, when I posted my trailer reaction, my first reaction was like this was not the tone I was expecting. And that wasn't necessarily like this was not the Bong Joon-ho tone I was expecting. It was because I know he's like you watch like Okja, it's quirky, it's spooky. Even Parasite is like very comedic here and there.
Memories of Murder has like drop kicks every 5 seconds. Which is
so I was more so just talking about like, and I've never read this book, but like all like the due diligence that I've done has made it seem like it's like such a dark, like science fiction story about this robot that just keeps dying over and over again and coming back to life. So like I, for some reason, had it in my head that it was going to be like this way just darker and like darker toned, almost Sunshine-esque science fiction film.
Yeah, I get it. I think it's one of those things where like Bong Joon-ho, it's difficult because, you know, when I watch this and I'm like, it's very silly. Bong Joon-ho has this style where he can mesh the really the darkest of the dark in terms of subject matter, like a Memories of Murder being a perfect example of like a serial killer rapist, and blend comedic elements in it. And also this film just looks amazing visually. And also Robert Pattinson is like just the fucking man as well. So I'm really excited. Robert Pattinson is a fucking man of voices, isn't he? Like, it's crazy. I mean, we know that. I don't know if either of you guys have watched The Boy and the Heron English version. I haven't.
Yep.
You have? Okay. I haven't, but I heard him in the trailer. Man, I can do some crazy voices.
He might be the goat.
Cool actor. He's such a cool actor. George, do you want to bring up that you met him, or like, you know?
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, no, which way will hurt you out. But yeah, this film looks amazing. I'm really excited. Finally got past the initial image. Image. That lasted a lot longer than the Brendan Fraser whale one as well.
Yeah,
because this movie's supposed to come out a whole ass year ago.
Yeah, a year ago. But yeah, very, very excited for this. I think it looks fantastic.
Yeah,
sure.
Should be great. We also got the first trailer for Den of Thieves 2 in theaters on January 10th. So we got 2 movie trailers for movies coming out in January. I haven't either, but I don't know if it's a reappraisal or people just are liking it in general. But I saw a lot of positivity on the timeline for Den of Thieves 1. But I haven't seen it. A lot of my mutuals actually haven't seen it, but I just saw like, you know, random film Twitter people saying like, it's like a dumb heat, but like not in a derogatory way.
I didn't even know there was a Den of Thieves 1 until the trailer for Den of Thieves 2 came out.
Well, there you go. Now you got more stuff for your watch list. The Last of Us season 2 is officially releasing in the first half of 2025. So we're probably around, 6 months or so away from it. So very intrigued to see reactions to that. Excited. I know season
I'm
1.
not intrigued. People are going to be fucking horrible towards her, man. Like, so bad.
Yeah, we'll see.
We will not see, Tyler. We know people will be fucking horrible. People
but I like to think video game fans are like the worst humans. So I think like TV show.
Hey.
I wasn't talking about
those guys, bro.
Let's calm down.
Fuck those guys.
True, actually. I don't know. But I don't know. It worries me because also it worries me show related as well.
Like when are they going to do it? Or when? Yeah, like what episode is going to be?
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about Bella Ramsey. Bella Ramsey is a fantastic actress. I don't know if they've waited enough time. If you've played both Last of Us games, Ellie looks significantly different in the second one.
Time jump, right?
And from some of the set photos I've seen, and again, I will back Bella Ramsey because I thought she was fucking terrific in the first season. I think it's going to be very difficult to portray the same thing. However, it is a show. It's not the game. I know it's a direct adaptation, but they can still, they
can tweak things.
They can tweak it. So I have faith, but it does worry me a smidge, a smidge, I'll be honest.
Ridley Scott revealed he's already developing an idea for Gladiator 3. I made a TikTok about this. I got like 40 views, so shout out that. But what does this make you more excited or less excited for Gladiator 2, knowing that Paul Mescal is going to be returning for Gladiator 3?
So that's just what like I'm sure there are going to be like tight moments in Gladiator 2 where like we question if Paul Mescal is going to make it out alive. I feel like announcing a Gladiator 3 is fine. Telling me Paul Mescal is going to return is one of those things where like now I'm going to watch Gladiator 2. There's going to be like some tense scenes that should grip me, that should make me feel like, oh, no character is safe. But now the back of my head, I'll be like, well, it's kind of confirmed that he's returning, so he is safe no matter how dire of a situation he gets himself into.
Here's where you're wrong, because I think what they'll do is the third one will be a collaboration of Ridley and Bong Joon-ho. And Paul Mescal will have died, but he will have come back to life. That's what we're working with here. Imagine that. Like, crazy shit. Like, yeah, I kind of agree. I think it's I don't know, because Ridley's one of those guys where I can't. Napoleon, I just preached about for so long. And I was like, this is going to be the best thing ever. I haven't seen the director's cut yet, though, so I do want to watch that. But then I watched it and I was like, man. So, but all the signs are there that this should be good anyway. So I'm still very excited. But
yeah, the trailer's still electric, but
Glad-
it is
Gladiator
interesting to
3.
announce it before. And I don't, especially because the Gladiator 1 and 2 is such a big gap. And already, I think a little bit of this might just be Ridley Scott playing his hands because we knew that Gladiator 2, we saw the budget just got insane. So we know like there's basically no way this movie's going to be profitable. So maybe he's trying to like get a Gladiator 3 greenlit before the studio sees the return on investment.
Show his like confidence in it.
Yeah, but so maybe it's a little gamesmanship there. But yeah, I think it's a little bit of a, I don't love having sequels greenlit before.
Terrifier 4 just got announced as well.
Exactly. Now I'm going to know Terrifier 3 has no stakes now. It's disappointing. But Baz Luhrmann is set to direct a Joan of Arc movie for Warner Bros. Titled Jeanne d'Arc, described as the ultimate teenage girl coming of age story set in the 100 Years' War. Interesting one. People either love or hate Baz Luhrmann.
I don't really like Baz Luhrmann, I'll be honest. I just don't.
I guess I said people either love or hate, but I think I give Gatsby like a 2.5 and I give Elvis like a 3.5. So I guess I'm like more in the middle.
I give Elvis like a 3. I give Gatsby like a 2. I gave Romeo and Juliet like a 2. I can't remember what I've seen. I don't know. I don't love his style, to be honest. It's not really me. I haven't seen Moulin Rouge though. That's one of Anna's favorite films, so maybe I should watch that. Yeah,
it should be a interesting take on Joan d'Arc. I don't know like the whole story, so I don't know the whole difference of type, like Jeanne d'Arc. I don't know. That to me just seems like when people say like LeBron is like La Bum or like La Basketball, like it's just like a play on words that like seems like something silly that I would do.
There's been so many interpretations of Joan of Arc like story. I think I've seen personally like 3 feature films. So it's interesting. Also interesting that Jenna Ortega said that she wanted to play her like on the same week or on the same day almost as Baz Luhrmann said he going out with it. So
yeah, maybe they know something we don't, and they've been
maybe they do. Maybe it was just a marketing ploy to begin with because that got so much fucking heat online.
They seem like a pairing that will work though, Baz and Ortega. Another director news: James Cameron is set to direct Last Train from Hiroshima as soon as Avatar production allows him to. The film follows a man who survived the atomic blast in Hiroshima, got on a train to Nagasaki, and then survived a nuclear explosion in that city. Crazy, insane movie that I think James Cameron would be. I saw King of Burbank make a TikTok on that. He's like, I acknowledge that it's probably best for story point to be told from someone that is Japanese and has more connection to it. But if someone's going to take on a story like this, James Cameron's about as good of a guy as you could get to handle this brutality and insanity. But the thing I'm wondering, as soon as Avatar production allows him to, we're not going to see this movie then. When is Avatar production going to let up for James
Cameron?
Cameron?
Might see this film in
2039.
Yeah. I think maybe later. This does
2039.
I'm glad that he's like that we're getting news about bigger projects. And I like the Avatar films. I really like the last one. But I'm just glad we're getting other, big projects from him to come, not just Avatar. And again, there's no problem with that, but it's also nice to see James Cameron do something different because we haven't seen it since. What was his film before Avatar 2009? What was his film before that?
Alita Battle Angel?
It might have been, actually.
Was he just a producer? Did he direct?
No, I think he was a producer on that, wasn't he?
I think that was the one that was like his story, but like a different director.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that was right. What was James? Yeah, well, yeah, Robert Rodriguez directed that. That was in 2019.
Yeah, but they're like, a lot of James Cameron influence in that one. But
yeah,
I don't know, when was the last film before Avatar?
It was it Titanic? No
way.
It might have been Titanic.
I'm checking now. It was.
Oh, The Abyss.
No, that was before.
No, it was Titanic. It was Titanic.
Was it?
The Abyss was 80s. Yeah. Titanic was it's 1990. So listen, right. Oh, that's wait. Hold on. Actually, no. I might be wrong.
What year was The Abyss?
89. That was way before.
Wow, was it really?
Oh no. So he's done. What the hell?
I'll go to trustworthy IMDb. Since
Documentaries. Okay, the last True Lies in 1994, Titanic in 97, Avatar in 2009, and then Avatar: Way of Water in 2022. Yep. So we haven't had anything. James Cameron hasn't directed anything not named Avatar since I've been alive. By the way, that's crazy.
Same year, yeah. Wow. We'll see if we ever get this. I would err on the side of caution, but it sounds like an insane story that
also, guys,
I think you could bring to life.
I have a birthday meal, so
enjoy your birthday.
I will see you later. Bye.
George and I will wrap us up. Have a good birthday, sir.
Thank you.
even though I know it was like a week ago, but birthday meal.
Yeah.
So we just got a couple more things. So George, perfect man to chat about this. The script for the Batman 2 is finished, but Greg Fraser may or may not return. And obviously the scheduling conflicts, everyone can kind of read between the lines that would be either choosing between, Batman or Dune.
Yeah, it was very much like I even think I kind of took the interview out of context that Matt Reeves did. It was very much like yes, I really want Greg Fraser back. It's just going to come down to scheduling, which is why it's not like a confirmed yes or no if he's going to return. I think he's going to. I don't see a world where he and Matt built this Gotham City so intricately together, and it's the best Gotham City we've ever seen in live action, in my opinion. I just don't see a world where he doesn't just want to continue like evolving this version of Gotham City with Matt Reeves. As crazy as it would sound, I think if he has to make a choice between the Batman 2 and Dune Messiah, I think he would pick Batman 2. Because that just feels more like, I don't know, that's just a world he can play around with so much more, I think, than in Dune Messiah. But yeah, without him, it would suck. Obviously, I think you would definitely see a noticeable difference in the aesthetic of Gotham without him. Unless you got someone like a fucking Roger Deakins, which I don't think is happening. But it's not a yes, it's not a no. Obviously, I hope it's a yes, and I think it will be a yes. But until it's confirmed, I'll be annoyed.
Speaking of Deakins, have Fraser do Batman 2, and Deakins and Villeneuve have worked together before.
Yeah,
many
put
times.
Him on Dune Messiah.
Put him on Dune Messiah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
What have they done? They did Arrival together. They did 49 together.
Sicario.
They did Sicario together. I think just those three. Or they did Prisoners. Yeah. Yes.
Come on. Give us a studio exec job. We just solved this whole crisis in 2 seconds.
Seriously.
Speaking of shooting movies, 28 years later was filmed on an iPhone 15 Pro Max with some attachments. And obviously that funny Twitter picture made the rounds, like the some attachments in question were like 87 lens adapters and attachments and just like, but it's cool. I mean, obviously Danny Boyle's like the first 28 days later was filmed on a 480p camera. It's one of those when you watch it immediately, you're like, is my stream not buffering? Because it's shot beautifully, but I'm talking about the actual quality of the footage is not good. Yeah. So he's experimenting. It's fun. Danny Boyle, we're big Danny Boyle fans. Me and you, I know we are. So
we're definitely big Danny Boyle fans.
I'll trust him with whatever he wants.
In a world where we're getting AI generated films, throw something on an iPhone 15. Yeah. Show us what can the
At least it's not an Android. I might have had a problem there, but
it would have been.
At least we're okay there. The first trailer for Squid Game season 2 was released in December 26th on Netflix. Squid Game season 1 was probably before it was before the podcast. I lived in Texas back then, so it's been a long time, but it's managed to stay in the cultural zeitgeist pretty well. I mean, we've had people making like their own version of the games, and it's been adapted into video games. But I really, really, really love season 1, so I'm excited for season 2. I'm much more interested in season 2 of Squid Game than I am like the American Squid Game reboot they're doing. So we'll see. I don't know how much more. It's one of those that when the show ended, like they left it on a cliffhanger, but like I was like they very much could like end it here. But it was obviously successful that they were going to.
Yeah, my impression is that it would end after one season, so I'm not like entirely like sold on season 2. I don't know. It's not something that, which is crazy because I did love season 1. I do think season 1's a very good season of television, but I thought it just worked perfectly. Like it left you with enough ambiguity to start conversation after season 1. I don't feel like a season 2 is absolutely necessary, but obviously when you have a show as successful as it was, you're not going to not capitalize on that.
Yeah. And to be fair, I haven't watched it since it released, so it's been years and years at this point, but I feel like I remember season 1 felt so self-contained that it could end there. And then like they just like tacked on a final scene of him like going to an airport and like leaving, but then like last second he turns around and walks right back. So it almost felt like they like knew they were cooking with fire with the season, and all of a sudden like quick, go like film this scene and just like leave it open to be like, oh, season 2, there's a storyline there. But I'll be watching. I'm excited. Speaking of something that's not exciting, did you watch that trailer of the Australian version of The Office?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, I avoided it for so much, but then so many people were talking about it. I'm like, I have to see what this is.
It's the worst thing I've ever seen. It's absolutely horrendous, and it's so annoying because you like can't critique it, I guess, or you can't like rag on it because then people will immediately be like, oh, you only hate it because they swapped Michael Scott for a female and Dwight Schrute's character for a female. But That's not the reason people hate this. People hate it because it looks like shit.
This looks terrible. Like, and perfect timing for like the Donald Gleason, like the Office reboot they're making. Like, great that this is coming out before, because like set people's expectations at the bottom of the barrel and you'll be able to knock it out of the park. But yeah, that was terrible. And then Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank was cast alongside Timothy Chalamet, Tyler the Creator, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Josh Safdie's ping pong player Marty Reisman biopic. Wild cast. You got Tyler the Creator,
cast.
Mr. Wonderful, alongside Gwyneth Paltrow and Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah.
I don't know what Josh Safdie's cooking here, but I have no reason to doubt him. So
it's just an insane cast to put together for a ping pong movie. I would love to know like what convincing or just what the bag that they signed for looks like.
Right. It's it's I don't know what to expect here, but Mr. One, like that's wild. Like your acting debut is just interesting. I can't imagine he's gonna play anything other than some like financier or something. But if they actually make him like a scripted character, then like I'm intrigued to say the least. But so lastly, large movie theater chains are planning to invest over $2.2 billion to upgrade over 21,000 movie screens. Obviously, sound, dining, projection, and seating experiences are going to be upgraded, but theaters are planning on adding pickleball, zip lines, and bowling alleys as entertainment options.
Don't even get me started on pickleball, bro. If I see people playing pickleball before a movie, I'm going to freak the fuck out.
Or even worse, if it's a silent moment of the movie and you just hear clink, clink.
Yeah, and I just hear pickleball going on in the lobby. No, you're gonna, oh my God, I'm gonna commit arson. That's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna freak out.
I don't hate it for the casual moviegoer. If you have a group of friends and they're socialites, but you feel, ashamed that you're a cinephile and you want to go to movies alone, let's all go out to the Cineplex. Y'all can play pickleball. I'm going to watch Dune Messiah. So it at least lets you feel like you're involved with the group plans, while also like, you can kind of do your own thing. But and also, bowling alleys, they'll let you, like, you can watch, one day they'll release There Will Be Blood and you can reenact the final scene yourself after with your friends if they're annoying playing pickleball while you're watching a movie. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's a good thing overall because movie theaters have to stay alive, and at this point, do whatever it takes to stay alive. And obviously, like, there's going to be art house cinemas that aren't going to do this, but yeah, maybe your AMC is going to have a little pickleball court, and that's going to be interesting. But that'll do it for today's episode. Packed episode all over the place. Fun one, though. Shout out to our executive producers, Sean Morales, Josh Weimer, Stefan Johnson, and Stefan Nieberich, as always, and all of our patrons. Go check out our Patreon in the description down below. Join our Discord. Fun time over there. But yeah, our real quick on Thursday is going to be a draft of a starting 5 basketball NBA lineup of 5 movies, not movie characters, movies. We filmed it right before this episode. A wild draft. It's a crazy one. Stay tuned for Thursday. Weird draft. And then Friday, we're going to be reviewing La Haine for the patrons. So go check out our Patreon if you want to check out that review, as well as 30 plus other movie reviews we've done over the weeks and the months. And the next week, packed episode as well. Megalopolis, The Wild Robot. Wolves is coming out on Apple TV Plus, and Apartment 7A coming out on Paramount Plus. So we got theaters, we got streaming, we got plenty of movies releasing next week to talk about. So stay tuned for Real Talk episode 108. Hope you have a great week. Peace.